Sherrod Brown. Ohio Public Radio's Karen Kasler says other Republican candidates blamed the Ohio Democrats for helping Marino.
A political action committee aligned with U.S. Senate Democrats had bought $2.7 million in ads in the final week, saying Marino is too conservative for Ohio. His rivals accused Democrats of meddling in the primary because they viewed Marino as the weakest candidate in the field. But those ads may actually have helped Marino, who says he wears the Trump endorsement as a badge of honor.
Karen Kasler reporting. Georgia is poised to carry out its first execution since 2020. The state's parole board has denied clemency for Willie James Pye. He is scheduled to be executed this evening. From member station WABE, Shemaine Cruz reports advocates for Pye say he is intellectually disabled.
The decision by the 5-member board comes after a closed-door meeting to consider information for or against clemency for Pye. Advocates delivered more than 5,000 signed petitions to the board on Monday asking them to spare Pye's life. They say his low recorded IQ is evidence of an intellectual disability. Georgia is the only state in the country that requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt that someone is intellectually disabled to be exempted from the death penalty. Pye, a 59-year-old black man, was convicted in the 1993 killing of his former girlfriend Alicia Lynn Yarbrough. Her family has said they stand behind the court's decision to execute Pye. For NPR News, I'm Shemaine Cruz in Atlanta.
Ireland's prime minister is stepping down, but his resignation is unlikely to trigger fresh elections, as NPR's Lauren Freyer reports from London.
Leo Varadkar is a doctor of Indian descent and the first gay person to hold the office of Taoiseach, or Prime Minister, in once staunchly Catholic Ireland. Now 45, he was also the youngest ever elected to that role. In an emotional speech in Dublin, he said his reasons for stepping down are both personal and political.
It has been the most fulfilling time of my life.
But he said he believes his centre-right party, Fine Gael, will do better in upcoming elections under a different leader. That person would take office after Easter, he said. Irish elections are due later this year or early next, and Fine Gael has been trailing in the polls behind Sinn Féin, a left-wing party with past ties to the Irish Republican Army. Lauren Freyer, NPR News, London.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 20 points. This is NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. There's an urgent need for more mental health services for young people across Massachusetts, including in Boston. In response, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, city health officials, and the Boston Public Schools are announcing brand new funding to the tune of $21 million. GBH's Mark Hers has details on today's announcement.
The city says the federal funding will serve more than 50,000 students in 21 schools over the course of 5 years. The money will also support 500 people who are pursuing careers in behavioral health and train another 1,000 people to better serve Boston's youth and families. The funding coincides with a new study from the Boston Public Health Commission that shows more than 40% of BPS students are reporting persistent feelings of sadness. That study also found that mental health difficulties are getting significantly worse for young people of color, young women, and LGBTQ plus youth. In Boston, I'm Mark Hers, GBH News 89.7.
Massachusetts holding a conference on opioid settlement funds that cities and towns throughout the state are receiving. The summit is designed to connect towns with resources on how to spend those funds on areas like prevention and recovery. Among the speakers is Falmouth's Director of Human Services, Susie Hauptman. She'll give an update on how the town has been focusing on community engagement before spending its funds. The Cape could see roughly $15 million in opioid settlement funds in the coming years. In sports, the playoff-bound Celtics host the Bucks on the parquet tonight. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Walton Family Foundation, working to create access to opportunity for people and communities by tackling tough social and environmental problems. More information is at waltonfamilyfoundation.org.
Ladies and Braude, I am Margery Eagan. Welcome to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live as you do every Tuesday. Thank you.
Margery's applauding.
I'm applauding, that's right. I'm every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at the Boston Public Library, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Margery. So the Global Happiness Index is out, and yet again, Finland is number one. Actually, it's been number one for a long time, and it's not even close. Nordic countries always fare well. Might have something to do with universal health care, the sauna culture. Finland has won the top spot.
The sauna culture?
Well, they do.
I don't know if that's it.
Oh, it's huge. I think it's absolutely huge. Okay. It's won the top spot for 7 consecutive years. But for 2024, the United States is not even in the top 20 anymore. It's beaten by Melania Trump's home country of Slovenia, which is somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure exactly where. This year marks the first time happiness is broken out by age groups, Margery, and it turns out the kids in the United States are not all right, ranking their happiness much lower than older generations. You tell me that young people under 30 rated 62nd in the United States.
Yes.
The report looks at 6 key variables to help explain life evaluations: GDP per capita, social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and perceptions of corruption. This guy, John Hallowell, who's the founding editor of the World Happiness Report, I like that job, is quoted in CNN as saying the Finns are extremely rich in those factors. Quote, so everyone more or less comes out of the starting gate the same, and that sense of community extends to their immigrants, Hallowell says as well. It's something they're prepared to share with newcomers. So what do you make of the new rankings? And most importantly, what is the one thing, particularly people under 30, but anybody calling, what's the one thing that would matter to you enough to move up our happiness quotient to get us back into the top 20? Our number is 877-301-8897. You can call or text at that number. So what would it take for you to rate the United States, Margery, a little bit higher on the happiness index?
Well, I think we have no social safety nets. All these Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, they all have social safety nets. So you don't have to worry that you're going to not be able to take your medicine or pay the rent. You're going to be able to buy a house for probably less than $800,000 in Boston. You're not to your neck in student debt. All those depressing things.
So economic security.
I think that's a big problem for lots of people. I think young people are really disturbed by climate. They're very worried about climate. They're worried about student debt. They can't pay the rent.
They say loneliness is the major driver of the horribly low rankings amongst young people. Part of it due to no human interactions replaced by social media,
yep.
But also just the general malaise about the state of the country. My number one would be, you're probably right, the economic security is number one.
Saunas, Jim, is that what you're trying to say?
Saunas, yes, or steam rooms. One of it's sauna culture. It's not just sauna. I don't think you understand. I think that the vicious polarization in this country is really it's the common thread that trickles down into everything, young or old, and poisons almost everything in this country. That's the thing that I think is suppressing the happiness quotient.
Well, you know what else, too? I think you would not normally think that the United States was up there with some of these awful countries in corruption. But, I think a lot of Americans now would say that our Supreme Court is corrupt, that our government is corrupt, that money has so
Well, the Trump people think Biden's corrupt, even though there's no evidence. Well, they do. That's half the country, Margery. It is half the country.
But that's not the real world. Let's hope we're not going to, look at non-real world. But I think it's, you say to yourself, look at these Slovenians, you know what I mean? They probably can get their teeth cleaned when they're over 65.
Where's Slovenia? Do you even know where it is?
They're above us.
Where is it?
It's near Italy.
Very good. I didn't know that until I looked it up.
I was confused. I thought it was part of the Soviet Union before, but I was stressed to find out. It was part of Yugoslavia for a while.
Close enough.
Melania came from. Did you say that yet?
Yeah, I did.
Melania Trump came from there.
You want to hear what Rick Steves, who's with us on Monday, by the way, talk about upbeat. Rick Steves, here's what he had to say about the charms of Slovenia's capital city, which is called, I believe, Ljubljana, during an episode of PBS's Rick Steves Europe Travel Guide. Here he is.
Ljubljana feels small. It is, with only about 250,000 people. But it's by far the country's largest city, its cultural capital, and a charming place to kick off any Slovenian trip.
A fortress has capped Ljubljana's hill since Roman times. Ljubljana is laid back, the kind of place where crumbling buildings seem elegantly atmospheric rather than shoddy.
Well, if there was music playing in the background, we'd be happier here, too,
well,
don't you
there's a lot of beautiful castles in Slovenia as well. I think we should play a little bit of the Slovenia language, though. That's what I didn't...
Why?
Well, because it gives an idea of how people talk in the place that's happier.
And how's that going to advance our happiness?
Well, just in case you want to move there, Jim, because things are so miserable here.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we have Slovenians actually talking.
Some greetings. Živio. Hi.
Hi.
Adio. Bye. And the officials? Dobro jutro. Good morning. Dober dan. Good afternoon. Dober večer. Good evening. Lahko noč. Good night. Na svidenje. Goodbye.
Okay.
That was useful. That was very helpful.
That's the overall. We're behind Slovenia overall. That's
I know
if
that.
you talk old people and young people. We did lose out of the 20th for the first time since they've been doing these surveys,
Yeah,
right?
I know that, yeah.
We're usually always in the top 20.
Yeah.
But among young people under 30,
Yeah.
we're 62nd, Jim. We're behind Kuwait and Guatemala.
But what's really troubling about, doubly troubling, that young
Guatemala
people...
is where a lot of immigrants
I
come
know,
from.
leave. I know.
So they're leaving Guatemala to come here. Then they get here and they
to move from...
whoops,
Exactly.
I made a big
Turn around
mistake.
and go right
Turn around and
back.
go back.
What is my point? Oh, my point was that it's really, if it was the older people in this country who are unhappy, I wouldn't be happy about it, but it would be not as upsetting. If you start 62nd, the likelihood that you're going to feel better about yourself and your country in dramatic ways in the future is probably relatively small, don't you think?
Well, usually it's the other way around. Usually people are least happy in middle age.
Exactly.
And then they're more happy in their youth, a little bit less happy in middle age, but become more happy in their older years because you're kind of, at that point, you're kind of resigned to things. You know what I'm saying?
We're in the top 10 in terms of people over 60. And the reason we are is because they know they're not going to have to endure this much longer.
I've said that many times.
That's really
one of the only things good about getting old is you're not going to be here for the worst of it.
Yeah.
When
I think we are here for the worst of it.
The Atlantic Ocean is up in Cleveland Circle. I won't be here to see that, Jim.
Okay, 877-301-8970. The United States dropped out of the top 20. Margery's making light of this because she's obsessed with Slovenia. But it's a real serious problem. It's not like a scientific kind of thing. It's semi-scientific. And the most troubling part, again, older people are relatively happy here, quite happy here, apparently. And young people are totally miserable for a whole variety. You know what we got to do in the next couple of days is show on. It's going to really bring people down even more. This loneliness epidemic is out of control. I assumed the loneliness thing was primarily for older people. You lose a partner, you lose a spouse, you're getting old, you worry about dying, whatever it is, that kind of thing. I mean, this is really horrible.
Well, social, it's the online stuff, and it's also that you're so busy working several jobs, you don't have time to have any friends. That might be part of it,
By the way, can I just say one thing? We always take calls in order. But if you were able to make your call in Slovenian, we will pop you up to the top of the list, and you can be the next caller.
We haven't seen Melania lately.
Actually, we didn't know. That's not true.
She was with Viktor Orban.
No, I think on CNN this morning when he was saying, this is really good news.
Do we see Melania?
We're going to discuss this with Juliette Kayyem in a few minutes. He is saying that bloodbath is a common expression. Now, why is he saying it? Because he's actually getting blowback from it. And I believe she's standing over his left shoulder.
Oh, she's made a reappearance.
Well, you know what he said to her? There's going to be a bloodbath if you don't show up at that. No, that's... I
thought perhaps she'd gone back to
I think she was in the
Slovenia.
video. Let's go to Gina in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, I believe is how you pronounce it. Maybe it's Greenwich. How do you say it in Rhode Island? How do you say it in Rhode Island?
You could say it any way you want.
Okay, I did already.
You know what you're talking about.
Hi, Gina. Nice to have you.
Hello. First-time caller.
Oh,
thank you.
Love that.
Yeah, so I was in my car driving saying, oh, this is us.
Why?
So my husband and I are in our 60s, so we're just, we're doing just fine. But I have 3 children in their 20s, one 29, one 27, and one 23.
Yeah.
And we call them Les Miserables. And
that's horrible.
So
go ahead.
So here's my take. First of all, the type of jobs they have. A lot of times with new grads, they're giving them internships, paid or unpaid, or they're giving them kind of freelance work. So all 3 of them have more than one job.
Oh, boy.
And they have to pay for their own health insurance and their car and stuff. So they have more than one job. And that does keep them from socializing. It does make them feel untethered. They don't feel like they have a rock-solid job. They switch around a lot. And, it's just like that song, money makes the world go round. It's money.
Hey,
And,
Gina, are you worried about your kids?
I am. I'm worried about their mental health because they are just sad a lot.
That's
because
horrible.
they live and pay high rent. I have the 23-yearolds at home, wants to move out, no money to be able to afford rent. The other two live in, I call them tinder boxes. They're, in Providence and in Braude. They're third-story walk-ups, and, the only thing holding the floorboards together is the ectoplasm from the old ghosts that live there, and
Hey, Gina, you should have called us earlier. Start calling us regularly, and good luck with the kids, and thanks for your honesty. We really appreciate it. Thanks for her first call there.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about the lack of a social safety net, that there's a sense that your medical debt could bankrupt you, that you can't, as I was making a joke
People
about.
under 30 are worried about medical debt bankrupting them?
Well, I don't know, that not everyone gave their age that's texting, but I'm just looking at the text right now. One person says that maybe Jim Braude could move to Finland, then we'd win, and they would come in last.
That's funny. That's a good one. And that made you happy.
And a lot of people are talking about the political climate.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, how can you be happy about almost anything except in little moments when there's such horrible polarization?
But I think that the economic insecurity is a big thing, as that caller just said. I think in these countries at the top of the list, they may have smaller homes, but they have homes. They're not worried about. They're not worried if they lose their job, they lose their health insurance.
You know what we don't have in this country? I mean, it's two words. You're ignoring it like you often do.
Yep.
Sauna culture. I mean, it is pretty clear that that's the elephant in the room that you're unwilling to talk about.
We had the two guys last week. The one of them, you can rent a sauna.
Comes to your house.
Put it in your driveway.
He comes right to your house.
Maybe that would be the key. If we brought, that assumes you have a driveway.
He's got one truck, though. I don't think that's going to... I mean, it's a great program, but one truck is...
He was down in the Rose Kennedy Greenway for a while.
No, that was the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy was... The other guy who rents the sauna had to come to your house.
Yeah.
But as I said before, no one has driveways anymore.
We got to take a break.
So they can't have the sauna.
No driveways, no saunas.
In the driveway.
That's a real problem.
Okay. We're talking about America for the first time ever being below the top 20 of happiest nations on Earth. And if you're under 30, America comes in 62nd place. What is wrong with us? You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Margery Eagan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
It's funny that we're discussing the happiness quotient during a pledge time because we just got a text from Paul from Worcester who says, I get much of my happiness from Boston Public Radio and the Culture Show and by donating to GBH. How about that?
That's nice.
The result is that my happiness is proportional to Jim's misery, so I'm incredibly thrilled all the time. That's what Paul...
No, he means there's an inverse proportion is what I think he meant to say.
Yeah, that's what he means.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is pledge time, and we very much appreciate people taking the time to donate to us here at Boston Public Radio and also to the Culture Show, which, of course, comes right after us.
It does.
It's a great new addition. Jared Bowen is the host. And listen to what we're going on today. We have our first day challenge, which means a group of GBH members are offering an extra $25,000 if 500 people give today. So that's a chance to give today and get that extra $25,000. The deadline to earn that challenge is 7 o'clock this evening. We hope you don't wait till the end. What we really hope is you do it between 11 and 2. That's when our show is on. And Jim always says it doesn't make a difference. Well, it makes a big difference to me. Online, you can donate at gbhnews.org, or you can call us at 888-897-9424.
I cannot tell a lie. I got to be honest here. Margery and I were worried that the what do you call it? The enticement, the gift,
the gifts
on the first day was going to be that plastic things so your stuff doesn't get wet when you're canoeing, which I do not do.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I know you do. That's not today. This is a great, and I think this is brand new, by the way. It's this GBH picnic blanket. Did you see Maeve showing it to us before?
Very impressive.
Very impressive. It's perfect for the beach, outdoor concerts, and all kinds of stuff. It has soft fleece on one side, waterproof backing on the other. How clever is that, by the way?
Very clever.
Thank you. And it features the 89.7 GBH logo in white. Sadly, there is no photograph of me and Margery on it, but you take what you're given. And it's also got a handy, I love that word, detachable carrying strap that makes it easy to tote, Margery. What do you think about that?
I love things that are easy to tote.
Easy to tote.
So
that's $10 a month. $10 a month, right, which is a great deal, and it's fabulous, and you help shows like ours, and the Culture Show, and the Afternoon Show, and the Great Morning Show, whatever. The number is 888-897-9424. You can do it online. It happens really, really quickly, and it is painless, and it allows shows like ours and the wonderful staff we have to get paid and stay alive. So it's 888-897-9424. Is that the right number? Yes, 888-897-9424. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. I want to correct again because I really screwed up yesterday. The governor's coming on the 26th. I said the 29th a few times. She'll be at the library live on the 26th at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock on the... Yes, 11 o'clock on the 11 to 12 on the 26th. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the happiness index, and America's failing. Well, it's not failing, but we dropped out of the top 20.
For the first time ever.
The Finns went. Are you surprised by that at all?
No, I think
this country is a mess.
I think we're miserable, Jim.
The Finns win again thanks to their universal opportunities for healthcare, education, and of course, as Margery said repeatedly, their sauna culture. By the way, we don't even know what sauna culture is. I know what a sauna is, but what is sauna culture?
I don't know. They go home at night and get in their saunas in their driveway. I don't know what it is. Kate on the road, thank you for calling.
Hello, Kate.
Hi there. I can actually tell you sauna culture is exactly that. You just go into the sauna and enjoy yourself multiple times a week. And I would love to try that out.
Do you think that would... whoa, before you go ahead, would that improve your happiness quotient?
You know, honestly, yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
We'll see what we can do. Go ahead, continue.
Get the rent a sauna guy. He can help you out.
Keep going, Kate.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So I am in my upper 30s.
Yeah.
And so I am approaching middle age. And I have to say, like, when people ask me why we're not happy, I just gesture widely at everything. You know, like the fact that I can't pay off my student loans, like I'm one of those Pell Grant people that would have had it forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn 40 in 4 years, and I'm not going to be able to afford a house. Not in New England. Like, not anywhere near my family.
I think you
and
speak
I'm in
for a lot of...
income relationship.
Yeah.
No kids.
No kids. So, Kate, if there could be just one thing, it sounds like there's a multiplicity of things with you, but if there was one thing that were it to change that would cause your happiness quotient to improve, what is that one thing, do you think?
Honestly, it would be the implementation of more green infrastructure.
Wow.
I feel like that would, I don't really care so much anymore about my own, where I am, but the fact that the climate crisis is the way that it is, and that even at my age, I know I'm going to witness terrible things in the future, I can't be happy looking forward to anything.
Kate, that was a fabulous call. I mean, depressing, but fabulous. Thank you for calling. We appreciate your calling. 877, what is the number? 301-8970. By the way, Jamie or Aiden or somebody just pointed out, we learned from the sauna guys, it's not sauna, it's sauna.
Yeah,
if you're doing a Nordic kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we're not Nordic. So
well, except they're Nordic. Finland and what's the second? Is Denmark number 2?
It's Denmark, Finland, Norway.
No.
Sweden.
It's Finland number 1. It's Finland number 1. Whatever.
That's for people 65 and older.
No, it's not.
The
it's for
overall.
everyone.
Well, I don't know, Jim.
Whatever.
I got it right in front of me here.
Okay, whatever. Where's Slovenia again?
No. Actually, you're right. It is
Finland.
Let's
spend some more time on
Finland
this.
and Norway. That's right.
Okay, fine.
And Iceland and Sweden.
Yeah.
Israel was really happy,
well,
but
that was
now they
before
have
all
this tragic situation going on over there now. Now, someone just texted and said that they were very happy. You know why, Jim?
No.
They just started taking Zoloft, so their mood has improved tremendously. And somebody else says...
It's not funny. Why are we laughing? I mean, it's just
because I think they were making a joke, and we
they were, and we're laughing at a joke.
I think you do feel better if you're taking Zoloft. We don't want to get to the point, though, where all of us need to take antidepressants to get through the day. That would be difficult.
No.
And then other people are saying lack of social safety net. Health insurance is a big problem for lots of people. There's always the comfort of food, says one texter, but housing is a miserable problem, especially around here in Massachusetts.
Don't you think social media, as I said at the beginning, is part, I mean, not only is it part of the reason why there's a loneliness epidemic in this country and in much of the world, but also because you don't talk to human beings. And like Zoom, which doesn't fall within that parameter, is you don't sit with people, you don't touch people, you don't whatever.
Lots of people talk about the social safety net, and they talk about, actually Michael from Watertown says, my happiness index would be higher if fewer of our more passionate citizens, in the sense of ruled by their passions, were not so heavily armed. And several people are talking about kids not feeling safe anymore, particularly in their schools. They're worried about, which is very sad, school shootings.
So I just mentioned, when you're on Zoom, you can't touch people. One of our colleagues said, I love the option to touch people on all those work meetings. That was Zoe. And Nicole says, this is actually our last topic of the day, self-checkout prevents us from human interaction. By the way, do you know why we're going to say this at 1:30, you know why I don't do self-checkout? Is because of exactly that reason. You miss an opportunity for what is generally a warm human interaction.
Oh, here's a good point.
Go ahead. She doesn't care at all.
I do, but
no,
I'm
you
trying
don't.
to
Tell
read
the truth.
the
You don't care.
text
You don't care.
If
It's
you read
obvious.
the text,
you care about Slovenia. I care about sauna culture.
Well, sauna culture. Listen to this.
What
this
is it?
Eva from Shirley, who
What'd
said
she say?
Sauna, whatever it is, sauna culture, means the Finns are not bowling alone. They are saunaing together.
Bowling Alone, for young people out there, is the brilliant book written by Robert Putnam, as a Harvard guy, a couple of decades ago, that is perfectly captured the social isolation that is going on in this country, literally because people are bowling alone, literally and figuratively.
Kristen Rosendale says he'd be happy if Trump ran for president of Finland. That would make him very happy indeed.
Do you remember he wanted to buy Greenland?
Yeah, he wanted to buy Greenland.
And you know what happened? I had was it Greenland he wanted to buy? I had the First Lady of Iceland on television when I was still doing the television show. And I said, how'd you feel when Trump tried to buy your country? And I meant it as a joke. And she thought I was a moron because I didn't know the difference between Iceland and Greenland. Let's go, Matt in the car. Matt, you're next on Boston Public Radio. Hey there.
Hi, thank you both for taking my call.
Sure.
Perfect timing, actually, considering earlier you mentioned politics and just now you mentioned kids in school shootings. And kids being scared of school shootings, I don't have a feasible or realistic solution for this, but I figured I would offer it up now because I completely 100% believe that if the entire Republican Party were eliminated, that this country would be better off and people would be much happier. I mean, you talk about kids not being able to go to school without worrying about being shot. When school shootings happen, Democrats introduce legislation to tighten gun restrictions. Republicans introduce legislation to make them more relaxed. Gay, trans kids and adults can't be happy because this party is constantly introducing legislation to dehumanize them and take away their rights. I just don't understand how by now at this point, how enough people are still being fooled by this party. And I mean, and that's the thing, is they claim to be the party for the people and they want to help out people, yet whenever more legislature is introduced to help people, they cry socialism. So what the hell is it?
Matt, ordinarily in years gone by, I would not have agreed with you, but they are an anti-majoritarian, cruel party for the most part, led by the cruelest of them all. So I think you nailed it, Matt. Thank you for the call. Can I read an anonymous text? As a 27-year-old who just moved back with my mom, coming off 2 jobs with pay well over minimum wage. People my age know our wages and dollar power does not go as far as it should. There's little we can do to fix it before the damage is done. Your show makes it a little less painful. And then she mentions the topic of yesterday, which, how do you pronounce that?
I think it's the Marchioness of Shamandil or something
and
like that.
And unfortunately, we can't do that again today.
The Marchioness of Shamandil, that was the one that the future King of England was supposedly carrying on with, and that's what's upset.
But that really nice British woman at the end of the thing was very upset with us because you're ridiculing the monarchy, and she didn't like
Listen to this. This is from Betsy in Nashua.
What is it? We got to take a break.
Feeling like a big hypocrite because I plan to retire in Sweden, finance my retirement accounts, which have steadily grown from the capital success and the greed of the U.S. stock market.
Where is Sweden on the list, by the way? Where is Sweden?
Sweden is 4th.
Oh, wow.
It's all the Scandinavian countries.
Yeah.
Plus, Israel was on there before the whole Hamas.
By the way, they have high tax. I mean, we didn't get any call. I was sure we're going to get callers saying, well, it's because taxes are so high. Well, the things that high taxes provide make the people in those countries very happy. So maybe they're happy that they're paying more to live a better life. In any case, we've got to take a break, Margery.
Okay, are we moving on to our
Juliette
next topic
Kayyem
here?
is our guest. You see her over there?
No, I wasn't sure if you were doing a coming back or pledge. I'm confused.
Yeah, how I know that? It's in the script.
It's in the script. Thank you very much, Jim.
Which is in your hand, actually.
It's in my hand. I'm reading it right now.
Right there, yeah.
Okay, up next is Juliette Kayyem. We're going to talk to her about the latest on Texas and the border, the tragedy unfolding in Haiti. Ron DeSantis apparently thinks it's a good idea to take Haitians that come to Florida and send them to Martha's Vineyard. All stuff to make us happy. Juliette Kayyem is next at Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference. Please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
You know, we have some remarkably talented colleagues, both on the air and behind the scenes, without whom, the latter category, these shows would be absolutely nothing. And if you want to show your support for the work that all of those wonderful, talented people do, the next couple of days are your opportunity. And to start this thing off, I don't think this usually happens at the beginning, which is great. If 500 people give today, I think by 7 o'clock, a group of GBH members are offering an extra $25,000, which is quite wonderful. The way you become one of those 500 is to go to gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424. And the gift or the enticement, whatever, is really good today. Well, I don't mean like the others aren't. This is really good, especially with summer coming. You know, it's the first day of spring. Do you know that? The first full day of spring today?
It is?
Yeah, it is.
Did not know that.
In any case, and what better thing now on the first full day of spring than this GBH picnic blanket? It's soft fleece on one side, and I love the waterproof backing thing, kind of, put it on the ground, doesn't get wet, whatever. It's got the 89.7 logo. The thing that Margery really likes is the handy detachable carrying strap that makes it easy to what, Margery?
To carry around, Jim.
Tote.
Excuse me.
Tote.
To tote.
Yes.
I love tote bags.
I know you do.
They're big.
877-301-897. Oops, that's the call-in number. Let's try that again, Jim. 888-897-9424 to make a pledge, or go to gbhnews.org.
It's okay. As Jim just said, if you give $10 a month, you get the GBH picnic blanket, which is a pretty neat blanket. But the thing that's neater for the bookkeepers around here is the sustained membership. That's a monthly giving plan, and that means that they can plan for how much money they have in the upcoming budget. They keep the programs that you like and us on the air month after month, and Jim and I are quite fond of our jobs. It's an easy way to give. You just pick an amount to charge each month on your credit card, and obviously paying $10 a month is easier on your wallet than paying $100 all at once.
That's a very good point.
So it's a great way to give and support. If you like this show, if you like the culture show, if you like other things here, it is a great way to support.
Actually, even if you don't like the show, $10 a month, you should get enough. Seriously, you don't have to like it.
Yeah.
Just make a contribution.
Well, if you may not like the show, because lots of people tell me they don't like the show, but they're listening. So even those of us, out there who don't like us at all, and it's all these nasty texts.
Yeah,
why
they're listening.
Why not throw a little?
Throw $10 in our direction,
and we can keep annoying you day after day after day.
What's the number again?
888-897-9424. gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now at the desk by national security expert Juliette Kayyem, former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under Barack Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Her latest book is The Devil Never Sleeps: Learning to Live in an Age of Disasters. Hello, Juliette Kayyem.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hello,
Hey there.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out.
So Juliette, you have an interesting analysis of what's going on with the former president of the United States at this particular juncture where he's looking for money and talking about bloodbaths. What do you think?
Yeah. So a couple things. Let's first talk about the money and the bond. So he's cash poor. He has assets. He could sell those assets. He could sell Mar-a-Lago and get the cash, but he's not going to. And he's been trying to get cash from a bunch of different sources, including, I think, billionaire friends. He's not able to do that. He's gone to banks of over a couple dozen. And so he is facing like a real threat about court, because the way it would work is that the court would then come in and compel the selling of certain assets to be able to satisfy the judicial finding that he owes, what is it, a hundred million or whatever.
$454 million.
A couple hundred million, what is it at this stage? So if you're desperate, and your family's desperate, because the children certainly are looking at this, they don't, all of their money comes from him. That just proves to be a liability as regards national security, as regards his allegiance to the United States. We know, I go through classified briefings all the time. I've had top security clearance. The one sort of flashing red light is a person desperate for cash? Because then you're willing to sell things for cash. We know Trump's history with classified information, certainly out of Mar-a-Lago. We know what he has. There's been reporting about what he's been willing to say to allies as well as enemies just to curry favor. So I would be a little bit worried. I just put objectively, not Trump, but if you just said, okay, here's a person who owes a couple $100 million, is desperate to get that cash, would you give him state secrets? The answer would be no.
Well, but that's where I was going to go. My understanding is the nominee of a major party for president is entitled to the national security briefings. However, the incumbent president can decide to override that tradition. Is Biden going to give him briefings?
No, he has briefings now.
Trump does?
Well, he's going to get some background briefings now. He's the nominee. I mean, there's nothing that's going to happen between now and then unless he passes away that would stop that. So, excuse me. So he will get some sort of briefing. The level of classification of that briefing, we don't know right now. So it may just be news reports, hey, this is happening in Haiti, whatever, things that he really can't sell.
One of the things, you talk about desperation. This is a theme that Margie and I have talked about since Trump came on the scene. We all know what the Goldwater rule is. The American Psychological Association says if you're a psychologist, I guess, maybe not shrink because they're not the psychologists, whatever, you shouldn't diagnose a public figure who you're not seeing. George Conway, we mentioned the other night, who obviously is married to was married to the former campaign manager of Trump the first time, and was a big Trump supporter until he became the biggest Trump opponent. Called him on CNN narcissistic psychopath on the show. And whether one agrees with that or not, it seems to me, what is wrong with people who are well-informed, experts like your colleagues on CNN, making a long shot call? You just talked you think he's desperate. Why can't people talk about what they think his psychological state is? Margery said as early as 2016, this guy is unhinged. And I think it's clear he is more unhinged as the days go along.
Look, there's going to be a couple of ways to address that unhingedness. One is the more public he is, the more obvious it is to the American public and to the voting public that he is unhinged. I looked at the numbers last night. I've been looking at the numbers for the other primaries. There is a strong contingent of Republican voters that are not going to vote for him. And there are moments I wake up and I think this is going to be nothing. Like, in other words, like, Biden has clearly got this.
Wait. In Ohio yesterday, there's a Republican running for the U.S. Senate.
That's the primary.
Democrats funded him.
Well, fine. He was more than 10 points behind in the most recent poll. He crushed the opposition after Trump shows up at the airport over the weekend.
Here's my tiny violin. That's exactly, in other words, that's exactly what the Republicans deserve. He won't win. He won't win.
He
won't win. He won't win. I don't care about primaries. I care about general elections, and I care about the United States. The second thing is things like what he said the other night about a bloodbath.
You see, he's walking it back today because he's getting so much backlash.
And this is exactly what needed to happen, which was people call him out on this. Remember, we used to be like, "Oh, he said he was joking."
Trumping Trump, right?
Trumping Trump. The consistent pushback by everyone has meant, the first day they were like, oh, you took it out of context. I wrote something about it. And I mean, it was like, it's a concerted effort of everyone, going, of all of his minions going after anyone who said, we know exactly what he means by
right.
bloodbath.
If people didn't follow this, it was immediately after he said he was going to impose 100% tariffs on cars, and he is pretending. By the way, NPR a reporter fell for this too. That the bloodbath, which is what Trump said it's about, the auto industry. It's not at all. He paused, and then he said, "If I'm not elected, there's going to be a bloodbath."
And
then he repeated it.
I watched it again because I was worried
Me
got
too.
duped by the Twitter feed and against him. So this is language that Trump has consistently used. Then he sort of says it's a joke or I'm being taken out of context. And this is the language of incitement. It is that people will hear it and they will be radicalized because bloodbath has only one meaning, right? And so and in that context, which is I lose, people will take to the streets.
He said this morning it's a common phrase.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
What he said.
Right. It's a common phrase when you want people to go out and kill people. Like that's, of course it is. It's a common phrase.
So we have an odd schedule today because of Pledge. So I want to start a topic and then we'll continue the topic. But I want to.
Okay, no, this is me asking for money.
Supreme Court. Well, why don't you give a little? You're doing pretty well for yourself.
I am doing well, and I'm going to give.
You're actually, she's a significant donor here. Texas Supreme Court of the United States yesterday rules that it is okay under Texas law for not federal officials, but Texas cops to stop immigrants and move them towards deportation. Now, the good news, I think, beyond the fact that I think they're dead wrong, is Mexico said over our dead bodies, we're not taking any of these people. I want to talk about this underlying issue when we get back. The one thing I want to say now, which really is relevant to what Margery says about the Supreme Court. Supreme Court rules last night, sends it back to an appellate court. The appellate court puts a stay in effect. That's not what I want to talk about now. What I want to talk about is the appellate court met within hours of the Supreme Court. And you know when it's scheduled oral argument? Today. Yeah. And if it turns out an appellate court below the Supreme Court can move with expedition because something is urgent and matters, so can the rogue Supreme Court on things like immunity.
Exactly. No, the delays are just basically bumping up us against the election, and then he's going to have additional legal arguments saying, I shouldn't have to litigate this so close to the election.
Exactly
right? We know how to do this, and it's. We'll get back to it. This opinion is like something.
We were talking about people being unhappy, and I think one of the things is that the people that you thought were kind of the last bastion with their hands up against the wave are now corrupt. Yeah. And I think that's very depressing. But a texter just said,
I'm
Jim,
happy.
Did you miss this one?
What?
We're all going to be much happier when the 2028 Trump versus Clinton rematch comes.
That's not even funny.
No, but I will
break.
Okay, go. Bye.
Good.
Give money.
We're going to be right back with Juliette Kayyem after a couple of minutes. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH. We're broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support. So please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, one of the great things here we do at GBH is when people give, we often ask them to comment on why they give. Here's Victoria from North Attleboro, Jim. I love Margery and I tolerate Jim. Only kidding, says Victoria.
That's what everybody says.
Here's
I'm
Charlene,
okay with that.
Here's Charlene from Medford.
This is great.
I spent more time with Jim and Margery than anybody else in my life. I love that one, too. And people say nice things about us, and that makes me very happy. But things are tough all the way around here. And I hate to say this, but one of us could be hanging by a thread. We think it's Jim. If we don't get our quota for today, as it were. We've got GBH members offering $25,000 extra if 500 people give today, and I'm hoping that they do. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
We're thinking it's Jim? Is that what you said? It's not the reports I'm getting, Margery.
Oh, okay.
But needless to say, both of us can stay if you do what you ought to do by calling 888-897-9424, online at gbhnews.org. This fabulous blanket with the GBH logo and the waterproof underneath thing and the fleece on the top and the logo, that's $10 a month. If you can't afford $10 a month or not interested in the blanket, don't do nothing. Do something. Give us $5 once. Give us $5 a month as a sustaining member. Show that you value what you get. By the way, not just from, we have such fabulous on-air and off-air colleagues, both on our show, who are brilliant. This show, we do get a lot of praise, particularly during pledge time, at least Margery does. None of it happens without these, Jamie, Zoe, our colleagues. I mean, they are just spectacular.
Yep.
And the way they do what they do is because you're kind enough to support them. So a group of GBH members are offering to start off this pledge drive by pledging an additional $25,000 if 500 people give today by 7 o'clock. So we hope you are one of those 500 at 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Okay, because we are pressed for time here. I was hoping we could move on from Texas to Haiti.
Well, we're not done with the pledge, though.
We're
That
not
would
done
be
with
a
the
nice
pledge?
thing. See,
oh, whoops.
See that clock thing? Do you understand
Sorry
how the
about
show
that.
works?
I thought you were
She's
cutting,
only been here a couple of weeks.
I thought you were cutting short in the pledge.
I was.
Okay. We are going to get back
Your
to
mic's
Haiti.
not on. Hold on, see, your mic's not on. Go
We're
ahead.
going to get back to Haiti in
I was
just a
gonna
second.
say,
I'm sorry
don't
about
cut
that.
short on the
smoothly,
pledge.
I should say. Thank
We're
you.
having problems with the pledge drive.
Okay.
Just give.
Let me ask you a
People, just
question.
give.
Why would anybody give to a show where we can't even read the clock? I mean, it's...
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll give money for no blanket. I don't want the blanket.
How much you giving?
I'll give 500
Oh,
this year.
yes. Let's hear it for Juliette Kayyem. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Okay.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I mean,
Yes.
Margery, what are you doing here?
Sorry about that.
Okay, this is where I say, welcome back to Boston Public Radio.
Go ahead.
Hi, Margery. How are you?
I'm well,
We're
Jim.
streaming on youtube.com/GBH News. We're continuing our conversation with who?
Juliette Kayyem.
Exactly. Go ahead.
I wanted to move on from Texas
Yeah,
now,
if you want to, yes.
to Haiti, because people
Thank
have
you.
seen
Texas?
We sort
of did.
We mentioned that.
We have seen the horrible massacres going on down
Yes.
in Haiti. It's like they cannot get a break down in Haiti. And it's important to note that the United States meddling in Haiti for many generations here is partly to blame for the mess that's there now. But what can we do?
So, unfortunately, well, there's two things that we're doing. One is there's no government in Haiti right now. So basically, to take you back, the former president was killed. There's some suspicion that the wife was involved. These were sort of vigilante guys that came in through Colombia being paid for by a Miami security company. It's all very confusing about who paid for them. Anyway, since then, everything has been precarious, and there has been sort of a loss of law and order, so that these gangs that have been now forming, that making it almost impossible to live to have a civilian society in Haiti, basically have different parts of Haiti. There's not a civil war. It's just there's no standing government right now. So one is you get the Caribbean and Latin American and South American countries to align to try to support some sort of democratic process for Haiti again to get a standing government, and the United States is very involved with that. The other is defense. We worry about mass migration from Haiti. So what you're seeing is a very heavy hand to both repatriate Haitians that are found in the waters to send them back to Haiti. It's not great, but you don't want to promote a mass migration in the waters. It's quite dangerous. We've seen it before, and also make it clear in Haiti, which is going on right now through statements and flyers and everything else. If you try to come to the United States, you're getting repatriated.
You know what? Or as Ron DeSantis said yesterday, that if you end up you're a Haitian immigrant and you show up in Florida, you may end up on Martha's Vineyard. Here is the great Ron DeSantis.
Watch me.
Or not. Okay,
we really have to get them before they reach the shores, and that's why we're working so hard to do that.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, we do have our transport program also that's going to be operational. So Haitians land in the Florida Keys, their next stop very well may be Martha's Vineyard.
The lack of compassion for other human beings escaping violence is just, I know it's a tired subject. It's unbelievable. Here's what I want to broach with you, though, that I'm a little confused about. I'm always willing to criticize the Republicans for their unwillingness to support the Ukrainians, Haitians in this situation. But the Republicans in Congress are being blamed for blocking this $40 million in security assistance. And their argument, which I have to admit, unless you disabuse me, I find somewhat compelling, is they say they need to be convinced that the $40 million is not going to go to the gangs that are essentially... So isn't there some merit in that?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think that's just going to force some sort of governance system in Haiti to be able to take the money and then distribute it in helpful ways. But right now, there's no entity to give it to. So it would be maybe an NGO or a UN functioning. But this is, we have helped Haiti before. We've heard, as Margery reminds us, Haiti's history is so tied to ours. We do have a moral obligation to help out a country that we have spent considerable time mucking up for over the last century plus. But until there's a functioning government, it'd be very hard. What you would hope, and this is once again the Republicans using this misery to make it worse, is you allow the money and then you just condition it on some entity that is going to be able to receive it. I think this will get resolved relatively soon, but it's horrific, and it's horrific because so many different players really screwed up Haiti. And it started 2 years ago. We just weren't watching it. We weren't watching it until this moment.
Can we, in the last 2 minutes, go back to what we skipped because it relates to migrants? I don't want to get lost in the weeds on legal things. I don't understand how forget Alito and Thomas, who are on the wrong side of every issue. How can the other conservatives believe that immigration issues and policing immigration issues can be, that states can take federal responsibility into their own? I just don't understand
just to explain to people, this is the way the Supreme Court left it. The careless Supreme Court. It would mean that the federal government, which generally has control, has exclusive control over our borders, which is a foreign policy issue. It would mean that a federal court would determine, let's say a family could seek asylum. They then are taken, because they're allowed to be taken under this really weird Texas law, taken under suspicion that they don't have lawful status to a state court, which apparently, because no one can understand this opinion, apparently would then have jurisdiction to say, no, we're deporting you. So you have a federal supremacy claim, jurisdiction that says you get to stay, and this wacko, who even knows who these state court judges are? Some of them may even be elected, so they're going to be elected on, overriding federal law. It was a mess, and it is so transparent, because let me just give you the counterexample.
We have a minute.
Right. So basically, imagine a liberal governor saying the border is a mess. We're not giving asylum to any people. All these people are stuck in Mexico. I'm going to let everyone in with no hearing, despite the fact that that's not the case, right? And if they're before a federal judge and told to go back, if they come before a state court, I'm going to let them stay. None of us would sit here and say that's legitimate. Of course not.
Well, not only that, and considering Abbott's history there, the notion that this is not going to lead to profound racism against Latino Americans, not migrants, is just
walking
insane.
Without passport. Imagine if you were asked right now, prove your U.S. citizenship. You have your driver's license. That doesn't prove it, right?
They're not going to ask me because of the color of my skin, which is exactly the point. Exactly. Juliette, thanks for the contribution, and thanks for your time. Juliette
Bye,
Kayyem,
everyone. Give.
We've been speaking with National Security expert Juliette Kayyem, former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Her latest book, The Devil Never Sleeps, Learning to Live in an Age of Disasters. I think we are in an age of disaster, frankly, Juliette, so good for you for the title. After the news, Ron Mitchell of the Bay State Banner joins us. We're going to get his analysis on why so many minority voters, African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, are going to vote for Donald Trump. And this nursing home crisis and real scandal up in Mission Hill. That's next on Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library.
It's our spring membership drive, and we're here to raise the money to keep BPR on the air. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Jack Callahan.
And we have a $25,000 challenge grant in effect, and that's thanks to a group of GBH members. Now, you can help earn this challenge by giving today. Now, here's how it works. We earn these challenge dollars only by receiving 500 contributions by this evening. Now, I'll tell you, we're off to a good start, but we have a ways to go, and your help this hour will be really important. So I'm asking you to please do your part to make this first day of the membership drive a real success and earn that $25,000. It's one of the best ways to ensure that BPR and Jim and Margery will be with you each and every weekday in the months ahead. 888 888-897-9424 is the number to call. Let me say it again, 888-897-9424, or give online safe and securely at gbhnews.org.
And to stay on track for the challenge, we're looking for 15 more contributions in the next 7 minutes. It's important to earn the challenge so we can keep NPR and GBH News on the radio in Boston. That's 15 more people to give in the next 7 minutes. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Here's another great reason to make that contribution right now, because you can pick up the new GBH picnic blanket. It's brand new. When you become a sustaining member, just $10 a month or a one-time gift of $120. That's only available today, by the way. This blanket's really cool. It's versatile and snazzy. It's perfect for the beach, outdoor concerts, whatever you want to do for that concerts, that is. It's gray, soft fleece on one side and waterproof backing on the other. Of course, it has the 89.7 GBH logo in there as well. Has a handy detachable carry strap to make it easy to tote when you're ready to curl up and move on. Curl it up and move on. Please call 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
Do you find yourself listening to GBH a little bit longer before getting out of the car? Are you relaying the stories and conversations you heard on Morning Edition, Boston Public Radio, and All Things Considered to family and colleagues? How about stealing a moment to read up on the important local issue on your GBH app? You feel a strong connection to NPR and GBH. We hope all those connections, conversations, and education you get from GBH are worthy of your financial support. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
You know, the monthly sustaining membership is the preferred way to support GBH. It's so quick and easy to set up. Here's how it works. You pick an amount for a recurring charge directly from your bank account or your credit card. Now, many folks start off by giving $10 a month. Please take a few minutes to sign up right now. And by the way, you're always in charge of the arrangement. So if you have to make a change down the line, you just let us know. Happens just like that. Please sign up right now by calling 888-897-9424. It's so easy to do. You can self-enroll at gbhnews.org.
And some big thank yous. We have Lillian in Newton, Patricia in Jamaica Plain, and Janice in Hopkinton. Fantastic support, and thank you for your support this hour. We could not do it without you. You too can be like Lillian, you can be like Patricia, you can even be like Janice, but you got to call in right now. gbhnews.org, or again, give us that call, 888-897-9424.
Okay, we're making progress. We now have 11 calls to go before the end of the hour. We can do that. We know that the BPR fans, friends of Jim and Margery, do step up at this time, but don't leave it to chance. Please make your gift right now, because having the dollars to keep this very important program on the air 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, is a real important investment for us all. Please help us out right now, 888-897-9424, or online at gbhnews.org. 11 to go. We can do this.
That's right. And again, right now, you can pick up that new GBH blanket when you make a contribution of $10 a month. It is a limited time offer just for today. That blanket is absolutely perfect for the beach. You can do outdoor concerts, events this summer. It's gray with that soft fleece on one side. It's got waterproof backing as well on the other side, and features the 89.7 GBH logo in white, and the handy detachable carrying strap makes it so easy to tote. Go ahead right now, support GBH by signing up as a sustaining member at just $10 a month and ask for that blanket. Again, it is only available today. You can give at gbhnews.org or give us that call, 888-897-9424. You can also give $120 all at once.
Now, if you've never given before, please know that GBH is here because someone else once took that first step from being a listener to a listener contributor. Please take your first step right now. I can guarantee you will not regret it. 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
And today we're asking you to join GBH by giving what fits your budget. Your financial commitment to GBH sends a powerful message about the value you get from listening to the variety of programs on GBH. And your contribution today, joined with others, will ensure that we can continue to bring you the NPR and GBH news you trust. So please go ahead, join with others by participating and giving right now. But you can go online, gbhnews.org, or give us that call right now, 888-897-9424.
Support for our programs comes from you and Mass General Brigham Health Plan. innovative plans, coverage, and a broad network of doctors. Mass General Brigham Health Plan, with you every day. For more information, you can visit massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org. And Comcast Business, committed to keeping businesses up and running with Comcast Business Internet, with internet speeds up to 10 gigs available. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Trusted, local, news. You're listening to 89.7 WGBH, HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. GBH News with NPR. What matters to you.
I'm Jim Braude, head on Boston Public Radio, live at the Boston Public Library. We catch up with Bay State Banner editor and publisher Ron Mitchell on the National Urban League's State of Black America report and break it down for Massachusetts, plus updates on plans to turn Franklin Park's White Stadium into the home for the new U.S. women's soccer team. After that, it's GBH's executive arts editor Jared Bowen and Ariana Grande's 98-year-old grandmother becoming the oldest woman in history on the Billboard Top 100.
I'm Margery Eagan. Then it's the Afternoon Zoo with Animal Authority journalist and naturalist Sy Montgomery, back with a brand new book about the soulful, otherworldly octopus. It's called Secrets of the Octopus. And we end with you, opening phones for check-in on checkout lines. Help is on the way. Those checkout line kiosks we've come to know so well. Do you love them or hate them? Call us or text. It's all ahead. Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The EPA has finalized tougher new vehicle emission standards, which are expected to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. NPR's Camila Dominowski reports these regulations will shape the options available for U.S. car shoppers for years.
The new rules, which start model year 2027, don't ban new gas cars the way California and some other states eventually will. Instead, the rules on tailpipe emissions get stricter year after year. That encourages automakers to make more and more EVs. No tailpipe means no tailpipe emissions, to pull down their fleet-wide average. The EPA received thousands of comments after first proposing these rules. The oil industry hated them. Consumer groups welcomed the future savings on gasoline. Environmentalists said cleaner cars help the climate and human health. And companies that make gas cars embraced the final goal of more EVs, while also warning that the EPA's timeline would be challenging to pull off. Camila Dominowski, NPR News.
A federal appeals court hearing is underway in the case of a Texas law that grants state law enforcement officers expanded powers to arrest migrants suspected of being in the U.S. illegally. The U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority allowed the law to take effect briefly, but hours later in a split 2-1 decision, a federal appeals court halted it. The Texas Newsroom's Julian Aguilar has more.
The law, known as SB 4, was originally scheduled to take effect earlier this month. But the Biden administration and immigrant rights groups sued to block it. They argue that the measure is discriminatory and usurps the federal government's responsibility to enforce immigration law. Texas leaders, including Governor Greg Abbott, say the law is necessary because of President Biden's open border policies. They point to a record number of asylum seekers entering the U.S. through Texas.
Julian Aguilar reporting. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East, meeting Arab leaders in Saudi Arabia and Egypt before stopping in Israel. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports the U.S. is pushing for a temporary ceasefire deal that would see Hamas release more Israeli hostages.
Concerns about an imminent famine in Gaza will likely top the agenda in Jeddah and Cairo, though Secretary Blinken has been talking to Arab countries about the day after and how they can help Palestinians on a pathway to statehood. Secretary Blinken is to update the Israelis on his talks with Arab leaders later this week. According to his spokesman, he will also talk about how Israel needs to protect civilians and allow aid into Gaza, even as it pursues Hamas, especially in Rafah, where over 1 million Palestinians are sheltering. The Biden administration has been raising alarms about Israeli plans for Rafah and invited the Israelis to Washington to discuss alternatives to a ground invasion. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. The state's entire congressional delegation is making a new push for what they say is the final piece of funding that's needed to replace the bridges over Cape Cod. GBH's Bob C. has more.
In a letter to Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg,
The delegation is reaffirming its request for $1 billion from the Federal Bridge Replacement Program. Massachusetts has already gotten more than $700 million from the Biden administration to replace the Sagamore Bridge, and the state has committed $350 million in matching funds as required. Governor Healy has adopted a strategic approach that will tackle the Sagamore project first, with replacement of the Bourne Bridge to follow. Bob C., GBH News, 89.7.
Worcester police are looking to join the dozens of departments across Massachusetts that have abandoned the state's civil service exam. But at a Worcester City Council meeting last night, Mayor Joe Petty said the exam process prevents departments from hiring strong candidates who haven't taken the test.
We all know some of the challenges with civil service. I think taking these two positions out is something that we can do and make sure the right person is selected.
The city wants to ditch the exam requirements for its chief and deputy chief roles specifically. That's as it looks to hire a new police chief. The Worcester City Council unanimously approved the plan to drop the exam. The move still needs approval from the state lawmakers on Beacon Hill. Playoff bound, Celtics host the Bucks on the parquet tonight. Professional women's hockey, it's Boston at Toronto. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include TimberTech, transforming landfill-bound waste into sustainable PVC and composite outdoor decking products designed to look like real wood. More at timbertech.com. Everything wood should be.
Hey, Jim Braude. I am Margery Eagan. Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We are broadcasting live now 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Wednesdays, which is why we are here today, because it's Wednesday.
That's a very good point.
And we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello again, Jim.
That is why we're here. That's an excellent point, by the way.
Right.
We're joined now at the desk by Ron Mitchell. He is the editor and publisher of New England's largest black-owned newspaper, the Bay State Banner. Ron Mitchell, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
You guys.
Thank you very much for coming in. So, Ron,
I love it here. It's so beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It is, isn't it?
I've driven by and been by, but so wonderful to be here.
And you know what? At night, it kind of looks like the Starship Enterprise or something because it's all lit up and you can see. It's really cool. Yeah, it's a really beautiful. It's a beautiful library.
It is.
And they got that, the tea room and the
one of the nation's oldest libraries.
Yeah,
it is.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. We're really glad to be here. So anyway, you wrote a terrific editorial about President Biden's State of the Union address. Everybody was worried he was going to fall asleep, and instead he was pretty fiery. But at the same time, there's a change that pollsters are noting among minority voters, Asian, Black, Latinos. Back in 2012, 17% of those voters of color voted for Mitt Romney. Barack Obama was a candidate then. A lot of people were excited about him. But now, 25% of Asian, Black, and Latino voters backed Trump in 2020, and it looks like it's going toward more people going toward Trump in this election. What do you think?
I know that this what a lot of pollsters are saying, but I don't really buy it.
You don't?
I think that most folks who have jobs don't answer the polls right now. I also think that Trump is going to continue to spiral out of control and get worse and worse and worse. I just think also if you look at a lot of the polls, for other candidates who are incumbents, they're always way behind at this time of the campaign. It's tough for many candidates over the years. So I'm not really concerned about it. I think that Trump's going to have a serious trouble as well with women, black women, but all women. I think
black women are almost never wrong.
I mean, really,
that's what black women in my world.
But I mean, really, when you look at getting hoodwinked, which I think a lot of Trump voters are, I know that will annoy them. But black women were consistently. I mean, how many black women voted for Trump last time? Almost
like
none.
5% or less. Yeah.
I mean, black women overall, and I don't want to make generalizations, but black women tend to really respect the legacy of the vote in this country and what folks have sacrificed to have that vote. So they don't take it for granted, and they, study their candidates and vote with their brains.
Ron Mitchell, even if you're right about the numbers, and by the way, Andrew Cabral, in response to a similar question, said the same thing. I don't buy the polls. The trends are not good. Donald Trump, even if the numbers are slightly off, is on track, and admittedly, it's still 7.5 months to go, to be the first Republican to win Latinos. He's currently had 46-40. To follow up on Margery said a minute ago, if Trump and Biden were to split Asian and Latino votes, and only 20% of black voters voted for Trump, he would more than double the percentage of people of color voted for Romney. So let's assume it's off a few points. We'll give you that. There is a trend of enough people away from the Democratic Party, where people of color, for the most part, have generally aligned themselves, that would suggest that even if they don't love Donald Trump, they like him enough that he could be the next president of the United States. You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
But why? Why? Just because you think Trump's going to implode?
I think that statistically, if you look at where other candidates are this early in the game, people are always way behind, number one. Number two, I think that the folks who answer these polls are folks who aren't a majority of the voters. I think they're the loudest. You always get the loudest folks, the most angry folks. And I think that that's what you're hearing, and that's who you're hearing from. So, I just don't buy that.
Okay, well,
there's going to be this great groundswell to this, gentleman who's dog whistle and white supremacy and all of the things that he stands for and that he touts. I mean, Bloodbath, his latest quote. That's not what people of color are.
Well, let me take one more shot at this, and then I'll give up.
Okay.
We had Rasan Hall.
Come on, Jim. Give me your best.
I hope you're right. I really do. Rasan Hall was here a few weeks ago, obviously running the Urban League here now. Yep. And we were talking about the Urban League nationally putting out the State of Black America. And I know that people in Massachusetts, when there's bad news that upsets the majority of people here, as I think that report would, we like to say, well, that's in those places. It's not in Massachusetts. I just looked up one statistic. You know this better than I. The dropout rate for black kids in schools, public schools in Massachusetts, is 2.25 times as high as for white kids. I could go down a list. Is it possible that the fact that there's been, at least according to the Urban League, as little progress as there's been in the last 20 years, as people often do, maybe they're blaming the incumbent for not fixing the problem? You're not buying that either?
I think that they do blame the incumbent for some intrinsic systemic problems, but I want to thank Rasan Hall wrote an article about this in our paper last week. Yeah, so I want to thank him for authoring that article for our new business section. Shameless plug, that's sponsored by the Boston Foundation. We have a new business section that we run every week in the paper. It's sponsored by the Boston Foundation for the next year. But getting back to your question, I just think that folks are not going to really I think that people understand where the problems come from. They understand the systemic racism. They understand the history of this country. They understand the challenge to wealth building with a lack, with the lack of home ownership, 2 and 3 generations back. And I think that they're just not going to all of a sudden, blame Biden for a whole host of problems that have evolved over time. I think that our Massachusetts educational system is one that needs to be worked on in a state that has so much higher education. There were good news sections of that report as well.
Like what?
Like what? Well, in the higher education section, we're almost even. White and black is almost even as far as the percentage of folks who go to higher education, graduate from higher education. So once you get them to college, it seems to be leveling out. It's the lower grades that are an issue.
We're talking to the optimistic Ron Mitchell from the Bay State Banner.
I don't know, Ron. Forgive me if I should. Whether you guys have editorialized on the White Stadium thing. I don't think you have you?
No, we've had a couple articles. We have one coming out today about the latest events. The Franklin Park Coalition did a survey over 700 people in the community, and the survey was relatively positive
about the renovation.
About the renovation and about the partnership. I think that folks who express concerns in our article, the folks we talked to, really express concern about parking and about we had an article a couple of weeks ago kind of talking about the process. And I think that that's one of the challenges for our community, where these great solutions come up, but they're designed in a vacuum without not enough community input. And now you see the community input is there. I think that had the community input been there a little earlier, some of these challenges as far as receiving the plan wouldn't have had as much of a stumble.
By the way, we should explain the background. Why don't you do it?
Well, basically, there's this a women's soccer team that wants to come in and has pledged, it was $30 million, now it's up to $50 million, to help renovate White Stadium. And Adrian Walker had mentioned today, he just visited the place, he couldn't believe what a mess it was. Some guy that ran track there in the 70s said it was a mess in the 70s. You can't imagine what it's like now. Anyway, but the issue is that...
And the city would kick in another $50 million.
The city would kick in another $50 million, but the issue is it would be closed to these 2 football teams there and to some of the BPS kids from, I think it is, October to March. I think that's a long time.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's March to October.
Drilling down on the facts, I don't know if it's closed totally to BPS kids, but I know that these football teams couldn't practice on the field because you can't have cleats on a field field and then have, a professional soccer team running on that same field a couple days later.
Yeah.
Cleats dig up the field. So it seems like, again, there were some finer points that were missed in the proposal, or that they just accepted and didn't realize the fallout.
And Mayor Wu has said, for whatever it's worth, for which she's gotten some criticism, this was not the case when she was with us a few days ago, that if the money from the professional soccer team, women's soccer team, is not there, the city's $50 million will be spent elsewhere. I don't want to get lost in the weeds, particularly for people who don't live in Boston. The thing that I don't understand, and maybe you do, because your connections are much deeper than mine, this seems to me to be a classic situation where people of goodwill in the Emerald Necklace Conservancy, and they're represented by, in my opinion, a wonderful guy, Scott Harshbarger, former Attorney General, is their lawyer, and Mayor Wu. It is impossible for me to believe that they sitting down cannot strike some sort of a deal. Have there been those kinds of conversations?
I honestly haven't talked to the mayor about that. I haven't spoken to the mayor in the past couple of weeks, but I do speak with her periodically, and I haven't had dialogue since the latest report came out. But you would think that folks at that level would be able to sit down. I know that the Emerald Necklace...
Why don't you, this is not a joke, why don't you offer yourself, I'm totally serious, why don't you offer yourself and say, this is something that should be able to be resolved, that matters a lot to our community. Let's both sides sit down face to face and stop yelling at each other.
I would welcome them to come down to the Bay State Banner offices in
Dorchester.
Dorchester.
We'll make an offer.
The offer is out. Place an offer right now, Jim. Thank you.
Do I have to do this for you here?
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean this sincerely. There are grown-up voices with people who are, in my opinion, public-spirited people like the Emerald Necklace Conservancy. They've never filed a lawsuit like this before, and their lawyer Harshbarger and Mayor Wu on her side, this has got to be resolved so the money can be raised. And by the way, the one thing that's beyond dispute, without taking sides here, is while there may be some, there will be some disturbance in terms of those high schools being able to use the football facility. As Adrian Walker said, didn't he say the worst condition of a public facility I've seen in my life?
The facility is in serious disrepair.
So the reality is, as Wu says,
it does deserve to be renovated.
And if it is
I
renovated,
think that it's a shame that if this deal falls through, the city is going to pull their money away. I think that's the wrong attitude to have. I'm not sure if I missed. I'm not sure if I believe that's what you said.
I did. Well, we don't know if she means that or if that's a negotiating thing. We have no idea.
Okay. Well, hopefully that's a negotiating play. But I really think. Listen, the stadium needs to be renovated. That's not an issue. That's a fact. Everybody knows that. The question is, how does the city raise enough money to be able to do that in a way that works in conjunction with the community? And I think now they're at a point where they are working that out. I also think that if you look at the Emerald Necklace Conservancy's lawsuit, it's very specific to the designation of that land. And that's why they filed the case, that the city changed the designation of the land.
A private taking of public property.
I know that the city has a different take on that legally, and they say it was already in a different subcategory. So we'll have to see what happens in court. But, I think that they definitely should sit down, get together. I would love to host them at the Bay State Banner. I know they don't need me to invite them to have that conversation.
By the way, the reason we talk so much about this, because we have a lot of listeners not involved, this is sort of symptomatic of, one, public-private partnerships, which a lot of people think are critical for lots of good things to happen. And secondly, in fighting, going in communities when there's something really important in the offing.
I am genuinely shocked that the Emerald Necklace Conservancy couldn't sit down with the mayor prior to the lawsuit.
Well, we don't know who to blame. In all fairness, we don't know which side to blame in that. So we shall see.
Okay, we're talking to Ron Mitchell, editor and publisher of the Bay State Banner. We're going to keep talking to him after this quick break and be treated now to our fundraising pitch here, Ron, which is going to go on right now. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
If you listen to Boston Public Radio 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 720 hours a year. Maybe it's time you pitched in. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
That's a very true statement, which our colleague just made. If you're listening a lot and you don't pitch in, you kind of might think about pitching in, because most of our money comes from listeners like you guys that are listening now that are generous enough to give us some money. And here's the deal right now. we have for $10 a month. We always have these great little gifts. Today it's our gray blanket with fleece on one side, waterproof on the other side. You can like spread it out anywhere. You go into the park sometime this summer. You go into the. I suppose you could even take it to the beach if you wanted to.
Well, you could, Margery.
And it folds up to the size of a bread box, Jim, which is very important too. It has a little tote thing you can
No
carry
one knows
around.
what a bread box is anymore.
But
that's
if
okay.
you do like what you hear on this radio station, we depend. We get a very small amount of money from the government. We depend on private grants and money from listeners. So if you like what you hear, and you like Boston Public Radio, and you like the culture show that comes after it, and you like Jim talking a lot, then this is the place to donate the money to. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org is how you can give online, and we really, really appreciate people taking the time to support us.
And we know a lot of you are contemplating contributing so that Trump can raise the $454 million. I would argue that redirecting that money here would do a lot more for a very, very good cause. And by the way, I know the people who do the hard work don't like when I say this. The gift should be secondary. If you like what you hear, you should contribute. If you want to do the $10 a month to get this wonderful blanket thing with 89.7 GBH on, great. But if you like what you hear in our show or the culture show or the morning show or the afternoon show here or the great reporters at GBH, then make a damn contribution. 888-897-9424. You go online at gbhnews.org.
Yeah, you got to pay for everything now that's online, right? You have to pay for the newspapers. You always have to pay for newspapers, but you still have to pay for the newspapers online. You got to pay for your TV stations online.
This is free, you know.
This is free. That's my point. And it means if it's free, you got to raise a lot of money to keep the operation going, and we are very fond of our jobs here. So again, if you are a listener and you haven't given, think about it. If you can swing it, I know sometimes it's tough times for people, but if you can swing it, we're happy to take $5 a month. For $10, you get the blanket. And if you're like a high roller like Juliette, and give us $500. She said she was going to give us $500.
Very kind.
That was really impressive. 888-897-9424 at gbhnews.org is the website. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, and we're in the midst of a conversation with Ron Mitchell, who's the editor and publisher of the Bay State Banner.
Okay, Ron Mitchell, a lot of us are very worried about where we're going to wind up in our old age. I'm going to go to one of those granny huts in the backyard.
Not granny huts.
Granny flats, what do you call them? It's like a little tiny house in the backyard. But this is a really scary situation that residents are facing up at this Mission Hill nursing home. The Edgar Benjamin has been around since 1927. And when I read further in the story, I thought, wow, that's terrible. I know that Medicare reimbursement can be bad and things. But then I read that the guy that runs the place, Tony Francis, his salary went from $150,000 to $900,000. And I thought, that's a lot of money for running a nurse.
Seems a tad egregious.
Yeah, it seems a tad egregious. So what's going on up there? And these people may have to move this summer if it's not resolved, 70 people.
Yeah, this was actually brought to our attention at the Bay State Banner a while ago. There were a few other broadcast outlets that did stories about them. But most of those stories were kind of a matter of fact, isn't it a shame that it's closing? And, so this is a reason why you need community journalism like the Bay State Banner. Because what we were able to do, we talk to employees and really drill down on the facts. And now a lot of different different politicians are looking at it. A lot of different folks, for somebody's salary in 5 years to go from $150,000 up to $900,000 like this, I think it's like six something plus a bonus. It sounds like they're trying to drain the money out of the system. That property is worth a lot. It's up on the top of Mission Hill, amazing views. So
really?
It really seems like, and again, I don't want to pass judgment, but to siphon that much money out of a facility like that. And when the staff say, listen, if we had a few more folks and a few more of these beds, when the folks who have been working there for 20, 30 years, 24 years, one of the employees we spoke with talked about it is sustainable. These are nurses, these are, admission managers who work in that facility who say the numbers are, if people want to, this place can be successful. If the owners want to, if they're not funneling the money out in other ways. It really just seemed like the possibility, and again, I say possibility, that real estate is worth so much that the folks who own it are trying to take it away from the community.
It's like a mini version of the Stewart thing that we talked about. It really is.
What I was thinking about this guy that ran Stewart Healthcare, still runs it, I guess, with his 190-foot yacht and then his 90-foot fishing boat. I mean, these are multi-million-dollar expenses while they can't afford
It's really a shame, too, that in the healthcare industry there's such abuse. You know, it's a place where we need ethical folks to take, control and to run these organizations with responsibility.
So is the city or the state doing anything to hear?
I know that there are a lot of folks looking very hard at that company right now, and it's under the spotlight. I don't know. I'm hoping that either Attorney General Campbell will take a peek at the books, or if an auditor, that would be. I know that's what some of the state representatives and city councilors who were there at the rally last week, and they're calling for state oversight and an investigation to take a look at what money was taken out, and why this historic healthcare.
And one more thing is your story says, and as you said, this was in your paper, the Bay State Banner, that people are afraid. This has been their home. They obviously have friends. These men and women are going to have to struggle to find some place to go. It could be far away.
The history of this place was created to be a senior center to provide for the Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan community for folks of color. It was created almost 100 years ago for that purpose. And to see it die, in a typical way where people are funneling out money. And again, I am not an accountant, I just want to say, but it really does seem like it's really
unusual.
A shame. Yeah. And again, as you said, it's not the only model where a particular healthcare company has, chosen, or the leader of a healthcare company has chosen to take money out and leave that system in question. It's a lot smaller situation than the other one you talked about.
But it sounds
tragic.
very similar.
It's tragic to the folks who live there. And I'm glad that we're able to bring it up.
Yeah, this is a great story.
By the way, the Bay State Banner is also free, just like GBH. And free online and free.
Are you free?
We are free. The only thing that you can pay, you can pay for ads, of course, but we have 837 drop sites from Worcester all the way through the Cape and the Islands in the summer, and all the way through Brockton and the Cape prior to the summer. It's free. Every single drop site. Our website is free. You can pay $200 and have it mailed to your home. But that's basically the mailing cost for that.
I want to get back to one other topic.
BayStateBanner.com is free as well.
You're changing the format, are you not?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Quickly, if you can.
Well, we are working on.
I'm not supposed to say that?
Well, no. We are working on a new physical format of the paper. So stay tuned. We also have our big Bay State Banner Gala coming up.
When is that?
That is September 6th. It's going to be in Nubian Square in the Bowling Building. I'm sorry, June 6th. I'm sorry, that's my PR. It's June 6th. I'm sorry, that's too soon. June 6th. He was like, that's soon.
Lynn, if you weren't here, nobody would have shown up on June 6th. So we're glad you showed up.
My mistake.
Can we raise, June 6th, we'll talk more about that as June 6th approaches, and the format you'll disclose when you feel like it.
Well, we're going to go to a broadsheet. Since you brought it up, we're going to go to a broadsheet. Yes, we're going to go to the same format. I think maybe an inch shorter than some papers, but that same format, the broadsheet format. We're working on that diligently. That's in the works for the near future.
It's like LPs coming back in broadsheets, or
well, I mean, most of the big papers, the Globe, Washington Post, New York Times, all of those are broadsheets.
They're broadsheets.
The Banner has always been a tabloid, and the community's asking for more information. It gives us more space to provide more information to the community, and that's what we want to do. When we purchased the paper a year ago, that was our goal: was to really provide more information for the community. We've expanded the website. We've expanded the paper.
Website's really good. You're doing this art stuff we've talked about too.
We had an amazing event. We want to thank the City of Boston for sponsoring the art gallery for the first 3 months. We had an amazing event 2 weeks ago at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, who are also partners. Our Bay State Banner virtual art gallery. We encourage everybody to go to the website. African American artists, male and female, over the past 4 or 5 months, we've featured them. Full-page article in the paper about individual artists. You can go to the virtual art gallery. You can see much of their art in the virtual art gallery.
Did he get the right museum in this time at least? Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes left.
Okay, only a couple?
Yeah, we do, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Local Haitian leaders
today. We're pledging.
Grapple with Caribbean nations' humanitarian crisis. We have the third largest Haitian population in the country, I think after Miami and New York. We are lucky to have the co-chair of the Haiti caucus in Congress, we've spoken to her about, Ayanna Presley. We talked briefly to Juliette Kayyem before. This is a nightmare that's unfolding, and I think because our attention was so focused, understandably, on what was going on in Gaza, we were irresponsibly, I don't just mean us, I mean beyond, but us included, ignoring the horror in Haiti. what does the U.S. do? What do people here do?
We have to engage. I mean, it is a nightmare. You know, it is such a complicated situation. The history of that country has, you know, is one that deserves to be supported, and I don't think it always was. I think that it's been allowed to spiral out of control most recently, and it's a complicated issue. But we have to engage. You know, we can't sit on the outside. When we sit on the outside of Haiti or any nation, any developing nation, and we don't. And America isn't a strong guiding force in many ways, or folks from our country who are Haitian, who have reached a certain level of success, are helping to guide that nation to grow. When those things don't happen, then, unfortunately, these types of things are allowed to occur.
Well, we not only have Ayanna Pressley,
I think what Ayanna and all the politicians
also the president of the city council is the first Haitian American president of the city council. Are we doing anything here in Boston in a serious way, or?
I mean, I know that funds are being raised, but it's a complicated issue, and right now it's really hard to get boots on the ground. I mean, you can't get support. Folks are afraid. Aid agencies and folks are literally afraid to engage in that situation, and that's really a shame. We have to get some help for that nation and for those people. You know, America's big enough to help Gaza. It's big enough to help Ukraine. It needs to be big enough to help Haiti as well.
We're not doing such a great job at the moment in those places. Yeah. Hopefully we do a little bit better. So one more
folks
time.
Folks are blocking those assistance.
They are indeed.
Get out of the way.
So one more time so you get the date right. When's the gala?
June 6th.
Well, how do people find out about that?
BayStateBanner.com. BayStateBanner.com. You go to our website. You can you can go to our website and find out about it. It's also in our newsletter. BayStateBanner.com, and go to any one of our 837 drop sites for the paper.
By the way, the beauty of this, if you're not watching on YouTube.com, I love this kind of thing. When somebody is a guest that makes a mistake, and their PR person is sitting over there, everything Ron says now, out of the corner of his eye, he looks to the side to make sure he's not screwing up again. And Lynn nods, okay.
I have been properly
prepped.
I have been properly
Excellent.
prepped. The thing was, I always wanted it sooner because our 1-year anniversary was March 1st, and my team rightly encouraged me to move it down. So that other date was
June 6th. You remember that?
June 6th.
Show up.
Yeah,
June
you
6th.
guys
we'll
show
be
up
there.
too.
We promise
you know
we
what?
will
We
be
should
there.
go.
No,
We
should
go.
go. We will go.
Right,
we will be
will
there.
go.
Ron, it's good to see you. Ron Mitchell, Bay State Banner. Thanks so much.
Congratulations on the nursing home story. That was terrific. Ron Mitchell is Bay State Banner editor and publisher. We thank him very much for his time. And June 6th is the big gala, as we know here. Okay. Up next, GBH's Jared Bowen. He's here to talk about Ariana Grande's superstar.
897-9424.
You know, my experience is, I may be wrong about this, but it doesn't really matter. But I generally think we have things like a $25,000 pile of money lying out there. If 500 people give by 7 o'clock today, usually comes toward the end of pledge. To have it on day one, I think is actually a wonderful idea to get things off with a bang. And we'd like you to be one of those 500 people to get us to that extra 25 grand. And you can do it by giving whatever you can afford at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. You know the blanket we've talked about, which sounds great, and I saw it. It's actually quite pretty too. The beach or picnic blanket with 897 GBH logo. It's great. $10 a month, you can get that. But if you can afford a lot more, there are a lot of people who are wealthy who listen to the show. Give $5 grand if you can. If you can't afford the $10 a month, give what you can. Everybody listening to this obviously takes something away from GBH Radio. And we would urge you, since you do, not if you do, since you do, make a contribution, whatever you can afford, to help ensure that the wonderful work that our colleagues do at this station is supported. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know, we have a text from Jane, who's a sustainer at GBH and NPR. She's from Chelsea.
Yeah.
And she points out that there's another great benefit to being a sustainer.
What's that?
Well, getting access to the GBH TV channel and their streaming services. So you can watch The Midwife show. You can watch everything big and small. We just won, well, I didn't, but the people at Frontline just won an Oscar for the best documentary film of the year, which is a really big deal. 20 Days of Mariupol. You know, we have people on from Frontline all the time, and Nova, and all the great shows that you can get through the GBH. So that's another point. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now on Zoom. Where the hell is he? Since he couldn't be bothered to come to the library apparently today, by GBH executive arts editor and host of the Culture Show, Jared Bowen. Why are you there instead of here?
I wish I could be there. I'm so sorry that I cannot be there.
Oh.
Okay, Jared, we'll allow it this one time. You know what I mean?
You know I would be there. I'd love to be there.
Okay.
Okay, so
Now I feel guilty that I criticized them. Not that guilty,
I was
actually.
going to say you don't.
I actually don't. It's
so
true.
talk about these big stars. Idris Elba, it's Keanu Reeves. I always mispronounce his name. Keanu. Thank
Close
you very
enough.
much. I mean,
It's
all
obviously
these
not
big
that
stars,
big a
Megan
star.
Fox, they're on. They're doing voices for video games.
Yeah, I thought more than voices, a lot of them are being in video games.
I know, it's incredible.
I think it's fascinating because you think back to about 20 years ago, and artists, actors were so careful about how they would spend their time and where they would appear, and they were very concerned with largely being in movies. Remember, this was a time when it was looked at a sort of a career liability to even be on television, and now things have changed. When artists like George Clooney would be criticized if people found out that they were doing commercials in Japan or something because they wanted to be so careful with their careers. But now we're seeing a whole host of actors like Jodie Comer, David Harbour from Strange Things, Matthew McConaughey appearing in video games. And in part because I think they're recognizing that, one, it's really easy because all they have to do is walk into a studio and put on a tight suit and have all the dots around them so they can capture those dots and movement. So that's all they have to do rather than going on location. But the gamers and their management are also realizing that this is a way to connect with new audiences and get them before a whole lot of people because the gaming industry, of course, is huge.
Here's a little clip of Jodie Comer, who I love. Does anybody not love Killing Eve, by the way, with Sandra Oh and her? She's spectacular. They're both great. In any case, here she is talking about working on the video game Alone in the Dark.
I just finished a movie which was based on a video game, and I had this kind of newfound appreciation for video games, having not played a lot of them in my own life, and just really kind of getting an insight into how big the gaming world is and the level of craftsmanship that goes into creating these games.
Well, that was worthless, essentially. I mean, that was just a PR kind of thing for her.
Noise in the background, kind of spooky. Noise in the background, kind of spooky.
Jared, can you help us out with the noise in the background or no?
It sounded like they were putting together some sort of trailer as part of the program.
By the way, I want to get back to what you said before. I read in one of the stories exactly what you said, and I sort of poo-pooed it. But part of the allure of this is you just drive down the street to a studio in Hollywood as opposed to having to hop on a plane and being in Iceland for 6 months. Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, they get a huge paycheck for just driving down the street into a studio, because you think if you're going on location, especially if you're filming something like Game of Thrones or something, you have to be away from your family for a really long time. They're really long hours. Look at how many night scenes there are, so your whole schedule gets completely crisscrossed. Not to mention the fact if you're shooting in other parts of the world, as many of these series and films are, then you're dealing with time differences. So this just makes it essentially a 9-to-5 job. It can be if you're just going into the studio.
Are you covering? I mean, the spectrum of people you've had on your show in the first few months is amazing.
Oh, the Culture Show is great.
Just great. Have you done any people in this gaming industry, the gamer industry, or have you not?
No, it's a good point. We haven't. I mean, one area where we've covered it is with Mary Grant, the president of Mass Art,
She's
who has
great. She's great.
Isn't she fabulous? And they've very much folded the gaming industry into the curriculum at Mass Art because it is such a big.
That's great.
And it encompasses everything, because we also see the musicians who are orchestrating for games now, the animators, of course, who are doing this, and then it absolutely will intersect with the AI world.
We're talking to Jared Bowen, who is not at the Boylston Public Library.
No, he's not. But Jared, this is a great story about some artifacts that apparently were looted from Japan, and the family that wants to remain anonymous found them in Dad's belongings.
Here, right?
Yes, that's right. When they were going through his home. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I think they have every reason to keep this anonymous because they, as you mentioned, the father died. They were going through the artifacts, and somebody had the keen eye to look at them and recognize that these might be valuable pieces. We're talking about portraits, a map, pottery, and ceramics. And sure enough, they checked the FBI partly controlled database, the National Stolen Art File, which has an inventory of art stolen in the United States and around the world. And in this case, they did indeed cross-check and find that pieces that they were looking at in their own family's home were artifacts that had been looted from Japan after World War II. And their father is somebody who had served in the war, although not in the Pacific Theater, which makes it even more interesting. And so they contacted the FBI, and they're going to be repatriated with a ceremony for all of these artworks to go back. And they're from the 18th and 19th century from Okinawa.
What's the word with a P again that when you research?
Provenance.
Provenance, right. And when you said it's understandable they remain anonymous, I assume what was implicit in that is because the father may have been involved himself in inappropriately appropriating, to use a poor set of words, the stuff. But you know what I've never asked you when we've talked about this provenance stuff a lot with you? Let's assume someone is an innocent possessor of something that they're not entitled to, but they weren't involved in the taking, the illegal or unethical taking. They don't get compensated. Let's assume they spend $100,000 for something in good faith that they thought had a legitimate string of ownership, or whatever the proper expression is. They're screwed, yes?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's one answer to this. I think for the most part, it does have to go back, but this is why you find a lot of court battles around these issues, because people, especially if they realize they're going to lose something of significant value that they legitimately paid for, buying it from a dealer or at an auction or through a gallery, then they need to fight that battle. And sometimes they know there's more evidence in their favor than not by there not being any evidence. We've talked about this, how record keeping decades and decades ago was so difficult that it becomes harder and harder to prove provenance. But with the more that comes forward and the more precedent there is for the return, I think people are on the losing end of this. By the way, I think this is quite significant in a week where we're also being reminded of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft, because this shows us that even after 70 years, artifacts can be returned, and so there maybe still is actually hope for the stolen pieces from the Gardner Museum, that they are hiding somewhere and some family member at some point will find them and recognize them.
What was the anniversary last week, the 35th? What was the anniversary last week? Was it the 35th?
Oh, I can never remember.
Whatever.
I think it was 1990, though, so yeah.
Are you sitting in my chair in the studio?
I am sitting in your
chair. You know,
chair.
it's amazing what you have done, which I've never been able to master. With the exception of my seltzer over your right-hand shoulder, the case of Canada Dry, you have perfectly surrounded yourself with words of GBH. You know, that one's coming out of your head, one's over your right ear. Yeah. It's beautiful, actually.
That's because just to my right here, you have the branding police. and if I move a fraction of an inch,
totally
I get carted
true.
off to branding
Don't you
jail.
love when you interview somebody in their house, in their office, and their book is resting on their right shoulder in the bookcase, and you know they contorted themselves in such a way that everything is perfectly placed.
You know, speaking of Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the security guard that was suspected of having had something to do with the theft, although it was never proven. And he was never really taken.
The guard.
He just passed away. So whatever information he had or didn't have is gone with him as well. So
wait, we have to take a break. But I think we asked you this last week, but can we ask you one more time? What is the explanation, in light, without, again, being lost in the weeds, in light of the fact that the only footsteps that were detected by the electronic monitoring was the guard himself and neither of the faux cops who stole the stuff, why wasn't he indicted? Why wasn't he indicted?
It's all part of the mystery. They just couldn't make anything stick, even though, you look at it in its face value, and what was he doing? How did they allow 81 minutes to go in this museum? How did they feel that comfortable to be in the museum for that amount of time without the police coming? But they apparently never had enough on him to hold him.
You know, you're at the Gardner often, but is it not haunting every single time you go, no matter how many times you go, when you see the bare frames? I mean, it's unbelievable.
I hate it also because there are only so many, the 30-something Vermeers in the world, and we had one right here, and I never got to see it before it was stolen and may never get to see it. And the fact that one of those few Vermeers is maybe gone forever is just heartbreaking.
Okay, we're talking with Jared Bowen, Executive Arts Editor here at GBH, host of The Culture Show. We're going to keep talking to him after this quick break. You are listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH, broadcasting from the Boston Public Library.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference. Please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
You know, I've been here at GBH for 10, 11 years now, so you have to forgive me if I repeat things I've said before, but I think it's very important to point out. You may not like these pledge breaks, you may find them annoying, but if we didn't have pledge breaks, we would have very long commercials, 5, 6, 7 minutes, 3 times an hour, which you would find extremely annoying. So we do this for a few days. If we raise enough money, we don't do them for quite a while after that. So we appreciate anybody who can give during these pledge periods. We have a couple of more shout outs to us, Jim. Sharon in Merrimack, New Hampshire says, Jim, Jared, and Margery are like my best friends. I enjoy hearing them every day. Margaret from Ayr says, I love GBH, especially Jim Braude, whom I adore, and Margery, whom I tolerate.
No, but come on, she says.
She said she was just
kidding.
She
I
said
love
she
her
was
too.
just kidding. And this is Eleanor from Dedham, who says, I listen to GBH pretty much all day, especially during the week. Much better than watching TV. I'm also a huge fan of the Jim and Margery show. So there
Margery,
you go.
a huge new fan. That's the key thing. A huge
new
new
fan.
fan.
Excuse
and
me.
read what else she said. You see what else Eleanor said?
No.
Why the hell isn't Jared at the library? That's what she said when she made her contribution. I understand. So here's the deal. It takes about a minute. We're aggravating Jared. I know him well enough to know he's really aggravated, but it's okay. It makes us happy. For, what's the number? Oh, yeah, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. It takes like a minute. And let me tell you something. We haven't gotten into this yet. We'll get into it in the future pledge breaks. You feel good when you've done it.
Yep.
I mean, even though you're parting with some of your money, you feel like you're contributing to something that matters to you. A freeloader.
A freeloader.
And that's what Mitt Romney said about healthcare, right? In any
I
case,
think he said free rider, didn't
whatever.
he?
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're speaking to GBH Executive News Editor, Arts Editor, whatever, Jared Bowen, and host of The Culture Show. I don't know, have I mentioned that he's on Zoom and he's not here? I can't remember.
Yes, you have mentioned that.
He's on Zoom, sitting in my chair in the studio.
Sitting in your chair, Jim.
In the studio.
The power chair.
Is this a time where we reveal the latest pledge incentive, which is if somebody gives $15,000, I get released from this studio and I get to play with Jim and Margery again at the library.
Oh, that's actually quite beautiful.
Well, we're glad you're surrounded by the 89.7 stuff, the GBH stuff, so that's very, very nice
Just
too.
don't take any of my seltzer.
People had been up to Colby College in Maine, Waterville, Maine, and I took some of my kids up there.
You did?
Yeah.
Why? Because they were thinking of going there?
Yeah, they were thinking of going
I didn't
there.
know that.
It is gorgeous. I mean, there some really wealthy alums have really.
Is that where Brian went to? Is Brian McGrory go to Colby, or is it the other one? Boat.
I don't know.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said
it. It's gorgeous. I mean, because it's so cold up there, or at least it was before climate change got so bad. Big glass, arrangements in their museum and stuff. So tell us what's going on up at the gorgeous Colby College, Louise Nevelson in Mid-Century.
This is I'm very excited about this because Louise Nevelson is one of my all-time favorite artists.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so she's somebody who died in 1988. I think it was 88. But she really came to the fore. Yeah, she lived from 1899 to 1988. She was born near Kiev. Her family, a Jewish family, came to Rockland, Maine when she was just a child. And being a Jewish family in very conservative Protestant Rockland, Maine didn't necessarily go well for her. So basically the first chance she had, she escaped to New York. And she flourished as an artist there in her own right, because she didn't really come into her own until very much midlife. But she studied with some of the great painters like Hans Hofmann. She worked with Diego Rivera on murals during the Works Progress administration. She studied dance. And then when she was in the 1950s and 60s, approaching 60 years old, she started making these monumental sculptures. And I think part of the reason I love Louise Nevelson's work so much is for a long time I actually didn't like it at all. I kind of despised it because I didn't understand it. I would be in museum after museum and I would see these sculptures and they're either all black or all white. Although here at Colby you find some that are all gold, which is a rare opportunity to see those. But these huge pieces just filled with pieces of wood that she would often pick up off the street in New York. But she would make these, what I now find to be extraordinary and gorgeous assemblages in terms of sculpture. And again, they're towering, rising sometimes 10, 12 feet, maybe even more. There are a couple of her outdoor sculptures here in the Boston area, in Brookline, over at MIT. But what she's really doing here is is looking at harmony in sculpture and light and shadow in these dark spaces. And in this first retrospective that I've ever seen, I've never been able to see her work collected like this, we find all manner of her work from prints to sculpture and some of her early even painting and drawings, especially at the Colby Museum of Art, which is free all the time.
You know, before we leave this, Margery touched, I don't think I've ever been to Waterville. Maybe I was years and years ago. When I was reading stories, not about the exhibit, the Nevelson thing, but about Waterville and its transformation, it sounds almost exactly like what happened in North Adams, which was a decaying sort of mill town, and then all of a sudden around that incredible Masmoka Museum, everything changed. Restaurants, shops, a whole, and they talk about a I thought it was a typo, $400 million investment, $200 million from the college, I guess $200 million from government, or I don't know, government and private sectors, and they totally rejuvenated, totally changed this community.
I've been eyeing this for a while now, and this is really, really exciting. This is what I talk about all the time, that the arts, not just for the value that we have of the arts in our lives, but they are an economic engine. So Colby College has been playing the long game here. Yes, they're in beautiful Waterville, Maine, bucolic campus, really, really gorgeous. But just adjacent to them, about a mile away, you had a downtown that was very, very much run down because the paper mill industry had been there. And when that industry died, you had all of these old, gorgeous buildings, factory buildings, brick buildings, but no more business downtown, no more industry downtown. So slowly, Colby began investing. So this works as an economic engine because you have a major funder like Colby. But what they did is they worked with the arts community and the various arts organizations like the cinema, like galleries, luring artists in.
Fabulous.
And they brought the Performing Arts Organization, and they brought them all together under one roof, and they built this huge center downtown where you'll also find a chocolate cafe. And it's very transparent. Margery, you were talking about the glass, but glass walls so that you can see this from inside out.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And it has become this hive. It's this cultural hub, and it's luring people from all over. The film festival brings people, including Ed Harris. The box office is named after him. Lures people in all summer long. So they have recognized the arts as a way to bring people to that area, and because people have started coming to that area, stores have opened there, restaurants from Portland are beginning to eye there or have already opened up there, and it's just changed the whole downtown.
Can I say one last thing? I hope I get the name. I looked it up, and I think this is the film. I interviewed, when I was still doing television, a woman who was involved in this fabulous film about what happened in North Adams around Masmoka. I think it was called Museum Town. That's it? It's a short film. It's like an hour or something. And it's a beautiful story of essentially what you're talking about is this museum taking a chance and becoming this economic engine that totally transformed a community, a la Waterville. So check it out.
One of our texters, Judy from Watertown, Brian McGrory, went to Bates.
Bates, I knew it was a B or a C.
Right, that's also up in Maine as well, right?
Yeah, Maine.
Okay, so Jared Bowen back at the office instead of down here at the library. Here's a clip of Ariana Grande's song "Ordinary Things" featuring her grandmother.
And when he'd come home and I'd see him and he gets off that train, it was like God Almighty arrived. It was like seeing daylight. I mean, I could have packed up and left a million times, not that we never fought. You can overcome that.
What is she talking about? I mean, I can't make out one word. I mean,
She's giving her love advice.
Who is she? She's the 98-year-old grandmother?
This is the 98-year-old grandmother of Ariana Grande, the great singer.
Ariana, to you too.
Ariana. She's also known
Ariana's her sister.
Ariana Grande, also known as Nona. And she's becoming the oldest living person to appear on the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
Who cares?
Well, I'm asking Jared.
Oh, okay, I'm
this.
sorry.
She's 98.
Sorry.
She's on the Billboard Hot 100. I mean,
ask
most
him
of
if he cares.
Do you care, Jared?
I want to care. That's the key here. Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's a great moment, of course, for her family and her grandmother. This dates back to 1958, and now but although she had to replace somebody else, who I suddenly am forgetting. I was Fred Stobaugh, who was 96 when Oh Sweet Lorraine.
No. What happened to him?
Well, he just got replaced. He got offed by Nana.
Oh, really?
Who now tops the charts.
Well, that is one interesting story, Margery. I'm really glad you brought it up.
Well,
what is the part that fascinates you about this?
that somebody that's 98 years old is on the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
But do you think
it's pretty
she's on the
unusual.
Hot 100 because of her or because of her granddaughter?
I think it's because of her granddaughter.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, a granddaughter wants to put her on a
that's a
record.
good point.
She did sound a little elderly on the, giving the advice, but she is. She's 98.
Hey,
so
Jared,
This is wonderful. Now she's inspiring 98-year-olds everywhere.
Exactly. Now, how upset is the 96-year-old who got bumped? Do you have any first-hand information?
I'm pretty upset, I'm sure.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, not that many jobs for nonogenarians
What's on the
or whatever
culture
the hell
show?
they are.
What's on the culture
I'm
show?
talking to him about the 96-year-old.
Okay, we're going to ask him about the culture show.
I'm done with
That's
the
on from 2 to
96-year-old.
3. What's on this
What's on
afternoon?
that show?
Miguel Bricelli, who is just wrapping up this fabulous workshop, fellowship at the Provincetown Fine Arts Work Center is
Easy for you to say.
I know it's stumbling
Thank
over.
you.
You've got me all tongue-tied now. I'm thinking, what am I going to do at 96 or 98 years old? I'm already feeling bad that I haven't had a head start.
Okay, go ahead.
Not to mention that you're not here at the Boston Public
Oh,
Library.
I didn't know that. He isn't. That's right. Okay, continue. What else are you doing?
For $15,000, I can be released from the studio. You haven't got the money yet?
Yeah.
Okay, well, is that it for the show? I forgot what you said.
Okay, so he's doing this parade of fabulosity this weekend where he basically is looking at charting all the love that was started in Provincetown, and it ends with a parade, drag queens, artists, performers, everybody who will all give him a kiss. And for the latest in theater, theater that's on playing now and coming up, we have Joyce Kulhaywick and Chris Ellers for our Balancing Acts segment.
By the way, can I tell you something? Not only is the show great, Chelsea and your colleagues are getting incredible guests for this show.
Yeah, you
I
are.
mean, they're spectacular. So congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, and your interview yesterday with the 2 actors with cerebral palsy was incredible. So thank you very much, Jared.
Well, thank you very much.
Even though you're not here.
No.
$15,000.
$15,000. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, let me say, if you're not here next week, you are not here, if you know what I mean. Just take that to heart.
Message received.
Okay, fine.
We're speaking
Good to see you, Jared Bowen.
We were speaking with Jared Bowen,
We
Executive
were,
Arts
not
Editor
anymore.
and host of the Culture Show here at GBH. Okay, up next, we plunge to the depths of the sea.
I'm
with Sy
amusing
Montgomery,
myself, I should say. I'm sorry.
Naturalist and author of a brand new book about octopuses. Guess what? Almost everything you thought you knew about octopuses was wrong. You cannot believe what these little sea creatures are able to do, and sometimes big sea creatures. Sy Montgomery is next with a veritable octopus expert, Warren Carlisle. Stay tuned to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's our spring membership drive, and we're here to raise the money to keep BPR on the air. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Jack Callahan.
And we have a big challenge grant in effect for the first day of the membership drive, and that's thanks to a group of GBH members. Here's the deal. They've generously offered $25,000 in challenge money if, and the if is the big word in this sentence, 500 people give to GBH today. We'll help you join us with your fellow GBH fans and earn that $25,000 challenge grant. Every gift matters, and every dollar that comes in helps ensure that Jim and Margery are here on the radio for us all each weekday. Call 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
And we're looking for 15 more people to give in the next 3 minutes so we can stay on track to earn that $25,000 challenge grant. Your gift right now is so important. It's 15 contributions in the next 3 minutes. We can do it, but we need your help. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And a quick reminder here about our special offer today. It's a first time. It's the GBH Picnic Blanket. It'll be yours for $10 a month or a one-time gift of $120. It's a gray with soft fleece on one side and the GBH logo. And on the other side, it has waterproof backing, so it can be on a sandy beach or in the dewy grass if you're getting ready for a concert, whatever you want to do. It folds right up. It's very lightweight, does the job when you need it to, but then it has a strap, and off you go, and it's right there with you. 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
Democracy simply cannot exist without a free press. But no matter how many freedoms the press has, it cannot exist without funding. That's why we're asking for your financial support right now. So please, make a contribution to keep journalism and the free press strong in this country and right here in Boston. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Okay, just like that, we're down to just 10 contributions to go, but we also have about a minute and a half left to do that. Please do your part right now. Every hour is critical as we march toward that $500 contribution goal by 7 o'clock tonight. Please do your part right now. Call 888-897-9424 or line at gbhnews.org. Please donate what you can.
And to stay on track for the challenge, we are looking for 7 more. That's 7 more contributions in the next couple of minutes here. It is so important to earn the challenge so we can keep BPR and GBH News on the radio in Boston. It's 7 more people in the next couple of minutes. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
I encourage you to become a monthly sustainer here at GBH. It's so easy to do. You choose an amount that comes directly from your bank account or your credit card, and that your support keeps on giving throughout the year as you listen to BPR throughout the year. And again, you can set it up, and you're always in charge. You need to make a change, let us know. We can do it right away. 888-897-9424 or at gbhnews.org.
And right now, you can pick up the new GBH picnic blanket when you make a contribution of $10 a month. It is a limited time offer. Just today, the blanket is perfect for the beach. You got outdoor concerts and events for the summer. It's gray with that soft fleece. It features the 89.7 GBH logo in white. Handy detachable carrying straps, so easy to tote. So support GBH by signing up as a sustaining member, $10 a month. You can give right now, gbhnews.org, or give us a call, 888-897-9424.
I'm Nicole Garcia, producer for BPR, and you're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. GBH News with NPR. What matters to you?
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now by naturalist, and I would argue America's most prolific author, Sy Montgomery, and Octonation founder Warren Carlyle, I think the fourth. They worked together on Sy's incredible new book. It's called Secrets of the Octopus, featuring new research on the social nature of the octopus. It's now out. Sy, it's great to see you, and Warren, it's great to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yay, I'm so glad to be on with you. And I'm so glad for you to meet Warren.
Where the hell is he? Where is he?
We can't see him.
Warren is logging on. So let's start talking to Sy while we're waiting for Warren.
Okay. Well, tell us about this new book. I mean, I've read incredible things about it's octopuses, right? Not octopi.
You got it. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. About octopuses that I never knew. So tell me about the book.
Oh man, well, as you know, in March of 2011, I met my first octopus at New England Aquarium, and a series of relationships, friendships resulted that culminated in publication of Soul of an Octopus in 2015. But what happened in 2015 was all of a sudden it was the golden age of octopus research. And my now dear friend, Warren Carlyle, this person I never had met before, read the book, and he loved octopuses. He felt they needed a good PR agent, so he founded Octonation. Well, now there's 500 million people who have read Octonation's online fan club information. And I think this is one of the things that has driven this interest in octopus. Well, next thing you know, National Geographic was going to add Secrets of the Octopus to its Secrets of enterprise, a series of wonderful films on TV. And they asked me to write the companion book. And what it's about is all this new stuff that's been found out since we published Soul of an Octopus in 2015. And it's just some gobsmacking new stuff. And the film series, which is on TV on Disney, it airs on Earth Day, just knocked my socks off. I cannot wait to see. I've seen the rough cut, most of the rough cut, but I cannot wait to see the actual thing, because they've caught stuff on film that has never before been shown.
And they're responsible for the incredible photographs, I should say, in this incredible new book called Secrets of the Octopus. So, Warren, welcome. Sy said a minute ago that 500 million people have checked out your website, Octonation. It's actually not true. It's 500 million and 2, because Margery and I checked it out today, too. For the uninitiated, tell people what Octonation is.
Yeah, so Octonation, it started off as a fan club back when I read Sy's book, because I just felt like there needs to be, a group for people that are championing them as not like weird creatures that are alien-like. You saw a lot of headlines that just kind of painted them out to just be othered. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, no, there's plenty of people who think that they're, superheroes of the ocean. And so we started it, and then it turned into a nonprofit because I felt like there was a lot of work that needed to be done, like creating, a comprehensive field guide of them online and creating like more news stories. There were so many scientists that wanted to be a part of it. So it ended up being the hub for underwater photographers, scientists, tattoo artists, large sculpture artists that all, love the octopus and want to figure out what role they can play in talking about it and inspiring wonder of our oceans.
And by the way, we should say in this book, Warren does 16 what are called octo profiles, which we'll discuss in a minute. Sy, we have talked to you a lot about octopuses. And by the way, you were so humble, it is pathetic, Sy. She mentions in passing Soul of an Octopus, which just happened to be a finalist for the National Book Award.
Yes, which is huge.
That was a surprise.
Well,
no one expected that.
It was huge. And your relationship, as you described, people haven't read it yet. I know it's not this book. Was it Athena was the first? What was the name of the first author?
It was my first,
Oh my God. The relationship, the interspecies relationship is one of the most moving things I've ever read. But your comment about this new book, which I read about half of last night, is that what most of us, including I think you even, thought about octopuses, the more research is done, is wrong.
Yeah.
Give us some examples of the most egregious errors that we and even the great Sy Montgomery have been making.
Well, when I started doing Soul of an Octopus in 2011, and even when it was published in 2015, it was thought that almost all octopus species, with very few exceptions, were extremely solitary and that they only met to mate. And even when they met to mate, sometimes it was a literal dinner date and one would eat the other one. And cannibalism does happen. It's a jolly thing, but it turns out that not all octopuses are solitary, and even the giant Pacific octopus, which I had read nothing but the fact that they were solitary. It made me wonder, like, why do these octopuses even bother to be friends with me if their nature is to be so solitary? Even the giant Pacific octopus can sometimes be found in aggregations. And other species of octopus, such as the gloomy octopus, who's not really gloomy, he's just called that because he has big expressive eyes. He lives in Australia, and under certain circumstances, they seem to be solitary. But in other circumstances, there are so many of them in one place that they've named one of these sites Octopolis.
I know, it's incredible.
And another one Octatlantis.
Yeah.
And that, just like in a city, neighbors have interactions with each other, and sometimes they're affiliative. Sometimes you're happy to see your neighbor. You notice that she's gotten home from shopping or eating fish or whatever. And other times your neighbor irritates you so much that you just have to pick up a bunch of shells and hurl them at them, which has also been documented in Octopolis. And there's other species of octopus that actually seem to form pair bonds and will mate beak to beak, as if sort of belly to belly. And when you think of an animal mostly as being, cannibalistic, some of them actually do this sneaker mating in which the male sends off his hectocotylus, which is his specialized mating arm. He actually hides in his den and sends off his arm to try to put the sperm packet in the lady octopus's mantle. But some of them actually have these kind of tender courtships. And wow. It's just blowing my mind.
We're talking to Sy Montgomery and Warren Carlisle IV. He's from Octonation, and Sy is the author of this fabulous new book, which is called Secrets of the Octopus.
Well, you've written and talked about, a lot of people, that old movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where the octopus squeezes the ship and it's a disaster. And you think of an octopus like a shark, really. It's this killer thing. But that's what you both have been working to debunk. But tell people, what do octopuses do? And Warren, you can weigh in here, Warren Carlisle. What do they do with their suckers? What are their suckers for?
So their suckers are incredible. I talk about these all the time on our accounts, and people are like, I had no idea. And so they have their suckers, they actually can taste, they can smell, and they can also, they believe, because they're made up of, their whole entire body is made up of the same thing that our eyes. We have opsin proteins in our eyes. Well, suckers have that throughout their, the sucker. And so they can sense contrast and light as well. And they use it to grab hold of items. They use it to kind of taste things. They'll send an arm down into like a crevice to see if there's any food there. So they're just these remarkable things. And what's cool is that they can also pick up like large objects. Depending on the diameter of the sucker, they can move up to like 35 pounds. And that was just with one.
And they can move them individually, because you see the arms. They have a lot of suckers on their arms, but I've read where they can move them individually, which is incredible.
They can even they use it. The female octopuses, you'll see the giant Pacific octopuses. It's almost like if you take your thumb and your pointer finger, they use that to braid their eggs together, and they braid hundreds of thousands of eggs, and they attach them to the roof of their den. And so a lot of times when people see a sucker, they're like, oh, it's just this flat thing or whatever. They're highly dexterous, up to the point where scientists cannot, really perform any, like if they try to like tie them up with like surgical silk, they can unwind surgical silk from anything that they do. And so scientists have just like, well, we can't really cut into them or anything like that. Because they can untie that. So it's been really fascinating learning more and more about how they really operate.
That's Warren Carlisle. He's the guy behind Octo Nation, which is online, and Sy Montgomery is with us too, a regular on our show, who is the author of The Great New Secrets of the Octopus. Sy, one of the, you mentioned the social nature of the octopus, but I learned from your first book on octopuses about how, I don't know, human-like in a lot of ways, how smart these octopuses are. We have, 8-9 more years of research since you wrote your first book. Give us an example of how these are thinking beings in a serious way.
Well, some of it may have to do with some of their unexpected sociality. They will, as we do, sometimes use another species as a partner with whom to hunt. So just like we might go hunting, falconers will use hawks to help them find prey. Other hunters will use dogs to help them. Octopuses will sometimes use a fish as a hunting partner. And there's one species that actually, this kind of trout, it's a marine trout, will come to the octopus, will stand on its head in a very distinctive gesture, which conveys to the octopus, I have an idea. Let's go hunting together. I know where we can go. So the octopus recognizes that signal coming from a completely different organism, will follow the fish, who will then point out, see, in that crevice. And the bony fish, of course, can't get into that coral crevice. But the octopus, or his boneless body in there, and out comes all this delicious prey that both of them can enjoy.
Well, I remember when we talked to you years ago about Soul of the Octopus, you talked about the little teeny tiny space that an octopus can get itself into.
Yeah, they have no bones. So really the only hard part of the octopus is their beak. And when you came to visit us here in Hancock, I showed you the parrot-like beak.
Yes.
That is in the octopus's armpits, where all the arms come together. It's the last thing you would expect to find there. But that's the only hard part of the octopus, because they can just flow into any tiny space. They're like, some butter melting into an English muffin.
Oh, very good.
By the way, I've never met anybody in my life, Sy Montgomery, I know it's a broad statement, whose excitement about a subject is as contagious as you. I mean, you are otherworldly great. Hey, Warren, so I mentioned you do these 16 octo profiles. I just turned open to one on the Argonaut octopus. It's called a paper nautilus, I guess is the common phrase. You write about it a little bit, and you have lifespan, size, weight, all the details, that sort of thing. What I found interesting on this particular page by chance, lifespan of the Argonaut octopus, unknown. So is that symptomatic of the fact that we've just touched the beginning of our knowledge about octopuses?
Yeah, I mean, you see that there's 16 profiles in the book. There are over 300 species. And so choosing it was very much like choosing a favorite child for me. I was like, well, I don't even know which ones to introduce to the world first. But yeah, we have so much to learn about all these individual species. We've seen in documentaries them focus on the common octopus or the giant Pacific octopus. But that's kind of where I come in. I love learning about all the different ones because octopuses exist in every single ocean. They exist on every single coastline in the world. And depending on where they live, they have like a unique superpower or adaptive trait that allows them to be masters of that environment. So if you have the Antarctic octopus that has antifreeze proteins in its skin, you have the hot water volcano octopus these aren't in the books. But you have the hot water volcano octopus that lives next to like 150 or 60 degree hydrothermal vents. So just so much to learn, and a lot of what you'll see. I'm so glad for those of you who pick up the book. I put in the hairy octopus, which is the size of our fingernail. And it to travel, what it does is it waits for ocean currents to come around, and it just hops up into the ocean current and lets the currents carry it to wherever it wants to go. It's like an ocean Uber or rideshare or something. And so it's just so fun.
Talking to Warren Carlisle from Octo Nation and Sy Montgomery, the author of her latest, Secrets of the Octopus.
Listen to this text. I have always loved to eat octopus, but in recent years I find myself avoiding it in restaurants because the more we learn about them, I feel like they're just too sentient for me to feel comfortable eating them now.
That happened to me too, because of Sy.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened to me too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people, you do see that in, what kind of restaurants serve a lot of
Seafood restaurants.
Seafood restaurants, of course.
Oh my God.
Serve a lot of octopus.
A lot of Greek restaurants too.
Yeah, Greek restaurants too. So I bet you don't eat octopus, do you, Sy?
Are you kidding?
No, I haven't eaten birds or mammals either for over 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
The other delicious things to eat.
Yeah. What do you eat? Like nuts and
I eat
berries?
Nothing but leaves. When I was in Mongolia, where they eat like practically nothing but meat and cheese, the translator had to tell everyone I had a horrible disease because I wouldn't eat meat. And they're like, "How can you not? How can you not?" So they said she eats only leaves.
Leaves.
I've learned so much over the past 9 years of running this organization with people and consumption, and as it relates to certain cultures, because we have our members are global, though, all over the world. We receive hundreds of videos from people all over the world every single month. And there are certain people like in Hawaii where they live off of the ocean. There are people in Japan live off of the ocean. And so our kind of stance with Octonation is we've taken the route of inspiring wonder of the ocean by educating the world about octopuses and allowing people to make up their mind. So very, very true to how you all made up your mind. That's our role here, is just really to kind of show you all the different things that they can do. And for you, it's not right or wrong, but it's up to you to kind of make that decision for yourself.
By the way, Zoe, who visited Sy a couple of weeks ago, says Sy makes a delicious blueberry jam, Margery. So that's one of the things.
Okay.
She apparently eats. Sy, last thing for you, I can't wait to finish the book this weekend, is we also read that Washington State, there's either a bill on the governor's desk or who's already signed it, which is outlawed. I don't know if fishing is the right word, but mining, fishing, octopuses. How serious is the fishing of and consumption of octopuses around the world? How serious of a problem is that, or is it?
What they have outlawed is farming. Octopuses.
Oh, farming.
Yes, because there's a big fishery for octopuses, and in some cases it's to eat them, and in other cases, to my horror, it is to pull the animals out of the water and cut off each squirming arm to use as bait.
God.
I know.
Oh my God.
So I mean, I could kind of do without that. So yeah, octopuses eat octopuses, so I'm not going to sit in judgment on anybody. But I'm perfectly happy to eat some other delicious thing instead of somebody who would rather be alive and likes their life just as much as I like mine.
Can I tell you something? Beyond the fact that the narrative is always everything you touch is beautiful, and Warren's edition is great.
God.
The National Geographic pictures, your partners
Just
in this
incredible.
effort, are just unlike anything I've ever seen. Congratulations to both of you. Warren, it was great to meet you.
Yep.
And Sy, as always, we love talking to you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. We've been
Thank
speaking.
you. Beautiful book.
We've been speaking with naturalist and author Sy Montgomery and Octonation founder Warren Carlyle. Sy's got a new book out called Secrets of the Octopus, and you can find Warren's Octonation at octonation.com. Thanks again to both of them. Okay, up next, we're going to open the lines to ask you to confess your intrusive thoughts of shoplifting something at the self-checkout. How do you feel about self-checkouts? Apparently, a lot of places are rethinking their self-checkout ideas because the customers can't stand them. Our number is 877-301-8970. Call us or text us. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support. So please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Okay, we do these pledge drives a couple of times a year, and when we do the pledge drive, we offer you a nice gift if you are interested in becoming a sustaining member, which is the best for us because we can plan ahead for our budget for next year. So right now, here's what we get going here. We got this great GBH picnic blanket, gray, soft fleece, no bulk of the blanket, spreads out, giving you plenty of room, folds up in the size of a bread box, as I've said before. You can take it with you wherever you go, outdoors, and show you're a fan of GBH and give us a little free advertising at the same time. The deadline for that blanket is at 7 o'clock. After that, the blanket won't be available for the rest of the member drive. Somebody just texted a little while ago, said they're really hoping to get the smug mug back, and they're hoping that if enough sustainers complain, they will get the smug mug back.
Well, we're not going to disclose. We will not comment on that at the moment.
That is one of our most popular items.
We will not comment on that.
It shows Jim looking extremely smug, and we'll see what happens with the smug.
But that's not today's
But
item.
right now, we've got this great blanket, and we appreciate whatever you can give, a little bit or a lot, or $10 a month for the blanket. 888-897-9424. GBHnews.org is the website.
And the blanket's quite nice. It really is quite nice. $10 a month, as Margery said. And it's got the underside is waterproof, so if you're doing a picnic thing or a beach thing, the top is this soft fleece, and everybody loves the logo, the 89.7 GBH logo. But as I've said repeatedly today, and we'll say a lot of times in the next few days, the issue is, do you value what you get here? And if you value it and you want the blanket for $10 a month, great. If you value it and you're not interested in the blanket or you can't afford it, you give whatever you can, because whatever you give, you will help us earn the $25,000 challenge if we have 500 contributors by 7 o'clock tonight. So again, the number is 888-897-9424. Go to gbhnews.org. And I have to say, I say this every play. We don't ever read positive comments about us or our show except during pledge. I can't tell you, I know I speak for Margery. It feels so good to hear from you all and taking a couple of minutes, not only to give, but to say something really kind about the work that we're lucky enough to do here.
We have a really nasty negative comment.
Well,
Can you read that one?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
How much do I need to pledge to GBH to replace Jim and Margery? That's from Christian in Providence.
Well, I can answer that, Christian. How much you got, my friend? Maybe we can cut a deal.
Okay.
Text us. In any case, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're streaming youtube.com/GBH News, and obviously we're live at the Boston Public Library. We're going to talk to you about a pretty hot topic these days, self-checkout at grocery stores. It promised to be revolutionary. Long lines allegedly would be gone, and a poof, you wouldn't have to exert, calculus level mental math to figure out which cashier was moving the most quickly. But in reality, have they not become more hassle than their work? Dollar General, we may have mentioned this the other day, seems to think so. They're citing high shoplifting rates, so they're cutting back on self-checkout, and that ignores the human replacement factor, which is another big issue. So our lines are open. We can't promise there won't be a queue, but we do have real people beyond the phones. How do you feel about self-checkout? Do you use it? And if you do, why? You have any guilt that you may be costing someone a job? And if you do you steal things? Be honest, no one knows who you are. And if you don't do it, why do you not do it? 877-301-8970. So I don't even know which side you're on. Do you use it or you don't?
I do when I have to, but I don't like it.
What does if you have to mean?
Well, the other day I was at Star Market and I had my kids home and I was doing a birthday party for my daughter. I had a huge carriage full of stuff.
Yeah, kids in their 30s.
And my grown children.
Okay.
And I get up to the checkout and there was no
cashier.
There was only the machines, and I said, "You got to be kidding me! I've got like 500 items in here." And of course, they opened the thing for me. But if you're only going in for a few items, you might use the self-checkout. But I don't like them. I don't like hearing that sound all the time. Here's the sound.
Please wait.
Yeah.
Help is on the way.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I mean, can you imagine if you worked at CVS and you had to listen to that 5,000 times a day?
Please wait. Help is on the way.
We said we don't want to hear it.
We don't want. I like to hear it because it reminds me of why I don't like it. And somebody, Carol Baskin, had a great point in her Globe piece about why she.
There was a debate between her and Hiawatha
That's
Bray.
right. Hiawatha Bray loves them, and she doesn't like them.
Yeah.
She made a great point. If you have the regular standing in line that we always used to have, the traditional checkout line, then you can look at the tabloids without shame.
That's a good point,
actually. Princess Diana found working in a diner in Idaho. J-Lo gives birth to quintuplets who resemble Mike Pence. You can get maybe a Reese peanut butter cup. Self-checkout, it's all business. No gossip, no candy, just your debit card and a plea to donate $1 to the society for quilters with chicken pox or some other unworthy charity.
Do you feel guilty? I mean, I do. Occasionally I do it even when there's no line with the cashier because I'm in a big rush. But don't you feel guilty? I mean, you really are screwing the human beings because the more people use that, and apparently it's up to 30% as of last year of people who use the self-checkout, which is double the rate just 4 years ago. Don't you feel guilty that you're sort of taking their job away?
Well, I must admit, I look at the line, and if the line is really long,
that's a different story.
I might go to the self-checkout if I only have a few
Now, let me
items.
ask you another thing, which is one of the most painful experiences. Do you ever have an experience? I know what people are going to think I'm going to say is when they makes a mistake, you have to call the person over. That's horrible. Do you not have a problem figuring out which side you're supposed to bag on and which side you're not supposed to bag on?
They don't make it clear.
The signs are always horrible.
They do not make it clear.
Do you think they intentionally don't make it clear?
I don't know, but I've bagged from the wrong
that.
direction many times, and then they say, put the coupon in the thing, put the coupon in the thing, put the coupon in the thing, and you're putting the coupon in the thing.
You're angry.
Well, because half the time they don't work right. I mean, that's one of the problems, which is why we always hear the sound.
Exactly. Thank you.
Please wait. Help is on the way.
Please wait is exactly right. Now, let me ask you one other question. And don't make this. You ever stolen anything?
When I was a kid.
No. Have you ever stolen anything through self-checkout?
No, I have not stolen.
You're not looking at
since
me.
I was a child, and I stole.
You've never stuck an extra thing in your bag if no one was looking?
No, I have not. I have not. Jim, I don't want to wind up in the Metro section of the Globe talk show host arrested at the Cleveland Circle CVS. That would
the only
be very
thing I've ever
embarrassing.
taken, I want to fully disclose, the only thing I've ever taken was a beef tenderloin. 877 301 80. But no, at all, I don't do that either. No, it's not. Zoe said we want more. I have not done that. I don't do it both out of morality and because, candidly, I am worried about getting. How humiliating would it be if you ever got caught when you're stealing
Like I
the
said,
self-checkout
you'd be in the
thing?
Metro front, Jim.
Yeah.
You'd be in big trouble.
I'll do anything to get on the Metro front. 877-301-8970. Do you use self-checkout? And if you do, why? And if you've chosen not to, we'd like to hear why as well. You know what I just realized?
What?
I go to, as you know, Market Basket every Saturday morning really early. I didn't realize till this second. You know what they don't have? Self-checkout. And I bet you I don't know what the thinking is. I bet you they don't have self-checkout. Hey, Zoe, you used to work there. Do they not have self-checkout? I'm guessing because they want to be kind to the humans. Is that not true? Okay.
Yeah, they don't have it.
Oh, they don't have it. Okay, so I'm assuming it's because he is, the boss is a human-friendly kind of animal. Let's go to, I don't have any idea how to pronounce this name. My apologies. In Worcester, is it Otomaris?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Great name, by the way. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're on.
What do you think?
I have been a self-out guy. Do you try?
Hey, Otomaris, we're going to put you, Otomaris, you're breaking up, but I know what you want to say, and I don't want you to hang up. So we're going to take one other call and hope your connection is a little bit better. Please, please do not hang up because you have an interesting story to tell. So stay there. 877-301-8970.
I just like people as a general rule, so I love the self-checkout. Says a texter, no cashier, no standing in line with weirdos.
Can you do me a favor? Whoever sent that text, when you were doing a self-checkout, and you look over, and 10 feet away, there is a cashier who's probably making minimum wage, who is like standing there waiting to serve somebody. Do you not feel guilt-ridden? I mean, don't you when you do that?
Sometimes, but it seems as though they never have enough people at the CVS. So because they have to send somebody over to unlock the cabinets because everybody's shoplifting, I guess, all the time. So you have to wait for the person to come over and unlock the cabinet. Then you can't really look. If you're buying something expensive like facial moisturizer that's like $30, you want to be able to read it and find out, it's wrinkles, is it not wrinkles, nighttime, daytime. You can't do that. So there's not enough people there. So I don't usually feel that they're underworked. I feel like they're working pretty hard.
By the way, they just erased this, but it said something like the head of Market Basket said he wants a human being helping a human being, which I think is a wonderful way to go. Oda Maris, we're back to you in Worcester. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
Good, this is good.
I have been a self-checkout hater forever.
Mm-hmm.
When Stop and Shop had the strike with like a few years ago,
sure.
I was protesting with them, and I have my sign that says "Customers Against Self-Checkout." And every time I go to the supermarket, I try not to use the self-checkout as much as I can. And one time, I did the line. I went through it, and then I stole a pillow because I was so mad. Because I said, they are not paying me for this job.
Yeah.
And I took the pillow and kept going, and I was so mad. And I was ashamed, I know, but I said no. And it didn't have a price. That meant I had to stop and look for somebody for help to get the pillow price. And I said no more with this.
Okay, Oda Maris, how long did you look for somebody to get a price on the pillow you stole?
While. It was a while.
I don't think so.
I said, I need help. Can somebody help me? And then the person that looked at me as like, I cannot move from here.
Mm-hmm.
Go get the price yourself.
Okay, so when you get angry, let's just stay with this for a second, Oda Maris. Have you been angry other times at the supermarket? If you have you taken other pillow-like objects or no?
No.
Okay.
I was so frustrated that time. It was like, how do you dare to tell me go check the price myself?
I understand. That's an excellent story, and we're glad you came clean. Oda Maris, thank you. Call us anytime. We appreciate it.
Listen to this one. This texter says, I have stolen the paper bags. They ask you to type in the number you use. I type in 0, and my 4 bags and I are on our merry way.
But that's wrong. That's really wrong. You have trouble by that?
The person is confessing that they well, it's not as bad as you stealing the filet mignon.
I did not steal. I was a joke.
Yeah.
Can I say this here, by the way? And by the way, everybody knows you stole from Wawa when you were working there when you were in college.
You did steal.
No, you did.
I've
never worked at a Wawa.
I've never even been to a Wawa.
Neither have I.
They're all in Pennsylvania.
Oh, they are?
You took the lie detector test.
I refused to take the lie detector test.
Oh, you refused to take the lie detector test.
I thought I was in solidarity with the workers. By the way, a coworker of ours, this is really guilt-ridden, who does not want us to use his or her name. The key to successful self-checkout theft is marking something on the machine as the less expensive version. For example, you have Honeycrisp apples, but then instead you do, what are they called, Cosmos or Cosmics or Macintosh, for example, which are half the price. You ever done that?
No, I've not done that.
Yes, you have. You ever stolen a pillow like Oda Maris?
No, I told you. My girl gang and I, when we were about 9 years old, stole from Zayre's. We went in like
What'd you take again?
Bathing suit.
Yeah. How many did you take?
Just one.
How about a pillow?
I've never taken a pillow.
How do you like her saying she only took one pillow? Do you really believe? I mean, does anybody believe Oda Maris only took one pillow?
Well, let's say
she was angry.
I'm a little bit suspicious.
Okay, fine.
We're talking about self-checkout lines, which lots of people don't like, and lots of stores are removing them. I think Target in South Bay removed them, but I think they removed them at Target because people were stealing.
Yeah, same as Dollar Store, Dollar Tree, or whatever it's called.
Okay, you're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. The number here is 88. What's the number, Jim?
88. What is the number?
7301-8970.
We've only been doing this 11 years. There's no reason to know what the number is.
We'll be right back.
If you listen to Boston Public Radio 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 720 hours a year. Maybe it's time you pitched in. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Oh, okay, so here's the deal here. It's first day of pledge, and I keep saying it's unusual. It doesn't matter if it's unusual. Whatever it is, it's great. There's an extra $25,000 waiting to be grabbed if 500 people give by 7 o'clock tonight. And there's some wonderful listeners who have given with very nice notes, I should say, during our show. And we hope if you're not one of them, you become one of the 500 today. And what you can get if you choose for $10 a month at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org, this fabulous blanket thing that has GBH 897 logo on it in white. And you can stuff it in this bag so it's easy to carry. And it's got soft fleece on one side, waterproof backing on the other, which is great for spring and summer. Spring. It's first full day. Yeah, first full day today, that sort of thing. So whatever you can give. If you want to do the blanket thing, do that. If you want to just make a contribution of any amount, large if you're in good shape financially right now, and small if you're not, we would appreciate it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. And by the way, it's focused. I've tried to say this today, and I know Margery feels the same way. We get a lot of credit for what we do. We get a lot of blame from time to time, too. The bulk of the work that's done in these shows are not the people who are lucky enough to be on the air, but the incredible people who work like dogs to make sure the shows sound good, that we're prepared. And your money goes to support them so that they can live decent lives and do their wonderful work here.
Yep, you have a great engineering team. Matter of fact, we had some
and
kids
production team and everybody.
We had some kids from Northeastern just went in there to talk about radio production and stuff like that, and our team, was talking to them about how they do it. So we do have this challenge that Jim just mentioned, and if you give before the show ends, you'll be helping to earn get us toward the $25,000 challenge, and you'll be getting the blanket all with one gift, $10 a month or $120 all at once. Judy from Harvard says, think how much more joy the Finns would have if they had Margery and Jim. That's because we were talking about how the Scandinavian countries are so much happier than we are in the United States.
Happiest countries in the world,
And Finland is one of the happiest companies in the entire world. Jennifer from Woodstock says, long-time sustainer, but adding a little extra. Thank you, Jennifer. She says she loves Jim, she likes me, and she particularly loves the A-hole segment. Am I the a-hole?
Tomorrow, 1:30.
Which is very controversial because lots of people don't like that word, and they think that we're being low rent by using the word. But we had a poll, and the poll said, stay with the a-hole, right, Jim?
By the way, if you give a significant amount of money, we'll discuss getting rid of the a-hole. We can't tell you what amount that will be.
Okay.
In any case, what's the number again?
The number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBHnews. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBHnews, correct? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we are.
We're talking about the horrible practice of self-checkout, which to most of us, have to admit, was pretty exciting when it was invented. I don't even know when it was invented, but whenever it was, we were all excited. It doesn't work. You're screwing the workers. People are stealing. You have to. How many times you ever do self-checkout when you got out without having to call a person over to help you? It's rare, right?
I would say 50% of the time.
50% of the time, which is more aggravating than waiting in line for the cashier.
You know what else Kara Baston is pointing out? This isn't so bad like at CVS, but it's really bad at the supermarket. Bagging. If you're a bagger in the supermarket,
I'm pretty
you learn
good.
A technique, right?
I have a technique.
I'm not very good at that technique.
Yeah.
I like to have somebody bag my stuff, and you're obviously bagging yourself with the self-checkout.
Now, you say you've never stolen a pillow. We'll get to your calls in a second.
Not a pillow,
Have you ever done a double bag and clicked one bag on the... raise your right hand. Tell the truth.
If I'm going to steal, I may as well steal big,
Go
Jim.
for it,
I don't want to go for just one little paper bag.
By the way, can I say...
do you round up when they ask you if you're going to round up to donate to charity? Do you do that?
877-301-8970 is the point. Helene, you're in Arlington. You're on Boston Public Radio. Welcome. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, second-time caller.
Thank you.
Sustainer.
Thank you.
I just want to say I love self-checkout. I can bag the way I want things bagged. Freezer goes with freezer. Fridge goes with fridge. Pantry goes with pantry. And if I'm shopping for one of the elderly neighbors, I can separate their stuff and deliver it easier. It's just so much more efficient.
Well, you have control over the whole transaction is where you're going, right?
I want control. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so Helene, since you sound like a relatively decent person, same question. When you're doing it yourself and you look 10 feet to your right and there's a woman standing there who's the cashier with nobody in line, how do you feel?
That never happens.
Yeah, there's always a big line.
Well,
there's
okay.
not enough people.
There's always a line.
Okay.
Now, I don't feel bad at all.
Apparently not. And you have a system which is actually quite wonderful. Helene, thank you much for your call. It's very well thought out. Thank you.
Okay, we should have asked Celine and everybody else how they feel about the sound that you hear at CVS when something goes wrong.
Sound?
Because you hear it constantly. You hear it constantly. Let's hear it one more time.
The Marchioness of Cholmondeley.
No, that's a different one. By the way, that's an interesting question. Does she use self-checkout?
No,
she's
does
never
not.
been to a grocery store in her whole life,
I don't
right?
think the Marchioness of Cholmondeley.
The Marchioness of
Okay,
Cholmondeley.
we did that yesterday. That was yesterday. Thank you.
That's Sub Williams' alleged girlfriend.
Yeah, it was yesterday, though,
I don't
right?
think it's true. No, I don't think it's
What's
true.
her name again?
The Marchioness.
The Marchioness of Cholmondeley.
Right, exactly. We're not going to make fun again. That woman called yesterday who was wonderful. She's a little angry with us.
Well, she
and
was
we're
talking
not
about
gonna do that
making
again.
fun of the royals. The Marchioness is not really, she's a member of the aristocracy.
You know what I meant to say?
She's
When I
not a
went
royal.
home and I felt guilty about that because she was a faithful listener who was upset and she said I wouldn't say those things about your president. I should have said, which is what I really think, they're not your leaders really either, right? I mean, it's a
Well, I think we've
titular
said
kind of-
plenty of things about this president and many, many more things
Okay.
about the prior president. So I think the
Maybe I should just
analogy
shut up.
wasn't really correct.
Okay,
Diane from Fairhaven.
Oh, Diane, didn't you work in a supermarket when we met you on the phone?
Yes, indeed, at my local S&S
Of course,
store.
right. So how do you feel about this?
And
You
you-
live in it.
Well, they have a union, and I'm a big union supporter.
Great.
So I go to the cashier whenever I can, mostly. I broke my foot not too long ago,
Oh.
and I couldn't stand in line, so I used the self-checkout. However, when I got home, checked my receipt, I realized I had stolen a sirloin steak.
Is that true or you're being funny? Did you really do it?
No. I did, because it had a special clearance thing that required a person, and I didn't realize what that was. Anyway, so I get home, and I realized I didn't pay for the steak. So I was feeling guilty. I went back and returned it and paid for it.
You're incredible. I would expect nothing less of you, Diane. But Diane, go back to, was I not right? Didn't you used to work in a supermarket?
I did during COVID. I signed
I
on
know
the
you
Stop
did.
and Shop here
That's
in
when
town.
that's when we met you on
Yeah.
the phone. So, were you ever a cashier?
Oh, no, I worked
Oh.
in produce.
Okay, so
But
how did the
we're all
cashiers?
union members.
I know that, but how did the cashiers feel when somebody was going to a self-checkout rather than using their services? How did they react to that?
Well, they're not too happy, and I support them and tell them that and say, I hope your job doesn't get eliminated by one of those computer things.
Diane, you're an honest,
So,
good soul. We love talking to you. Thanks so much for your call. Call us again soon.
Joel from Connecticut says, nothing more lonely than standing in the self-checkout line, buying your birthday card for yourself.
Now, that's because...
Listen to this. Max from Shrewsbury, we can all relate to this. One of the great experiences in life, you are standing in a long line at the supermarket with half your items melting, and a cashier opens a new line and points right at you.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
That is great.
I mean, we've
doesn't
had,
feel much better than that, does it?
I tell you, you got them right where you want them.
Well, you know, this is not our topic, but the key, I think it started in banks. The key is to not force the consumer, the customer, to have to guess which line is going to move the fast. There should be a single line.
Trader Joe's is so great. There are single
One line.
One line. They used to have two lines. It was very frustrating because you're always trying to figure it out and you can't figure it out. Then you have someone in front of you who's like taking their coins out of there, or they're writing a check. You don't
Hate
see that much
Writing
anymore.
a check, you should be arrested.
Well, you still see people maybe
it should
that
really
are,
be
you know,
felony.
older or taking the money out of it.
Sure.
But one line, it's a great breakthrough.
You know what the problem with Trader Joe's, though, is at least
What?
in my experience? It's very difficult. This is for Otomaris to steal a pillow. And that's because generally they're not selling pillows, which is...
And they're rather large. You know, you really
pillow.
have to. Did Otomaris explain?
She
where
was angry.
She said she
was
put the pillow.
Well, she said she tried to get a price on it, and she was angry that no one was helping her. And then she basically revolted against the man, I guess is what you would say.
Okay, you're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. We're talking about the self-checkouts. Threat or menace? We'll be right back. We're broadcasting from the Boston Public Library, and we're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Margery Eagan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, Mary from Salem, Elizabeth from Ipswich, Susan from Kingston, Lee from Southbridge, Carolyn from Framingham, Deborah from Cambridge, Deborah from West Roxbury. Thanks to all these people. There's more, but it's a long list. But thank you to those people and more that have taken the time today to help us get closer to our goal of reaching that extra 25,000 that a lot of very generous people here at GBH are willing to give to help us meet that challenge. This is a generous group of GBH members. So thank you to them, and thank you to all of you, and the nice things that you said about me and Jim. A lot of nice things about you today, Jim. Usually people are saying not nice things, but today you're doing very well.
There were plenty of not nice things. We just didn't read them all.
We do these pledge drives from time to time during the year so that we do not have to do commercials. We are supported by over 70% of our money comes from listeners. We also get money from private grants, and we get a small amount of money from the government. And it's you guys that we depend upon to keep us going.
Don't gloss over that. We haven't said that once today. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 3%. People think the majority of our funding is from the government. Somewhere in the 3% range. It's an infinitesimally small percentage.
And as we said before, it's not just the radio. You get all the great programming on GBH TV that you can stream. You get Nova. What are you laughing at?
Read the bottom note that was sent to us by one of our coworkers.
Okay, the BPR team behind the scenes especially loves pledge drives because it's the only time Jim ever says anything nice about us.
That is horrible. That is horrible. By the way, it's Zoe. I want to be clear who wrote that.
Well,
libel.
She's right.
Or
We're not very good mentors.
She wasn't talking about you.
Well, I'm not a very good mentor. I'm not a very good mentor either.
Thank you for saying that. In any case, can I say one more thing? We have enough time.
Certainly.
An anonymous texter did a wonderful thing, which we should have mentioned. Says, you keep us laughing. Thank you, Jim and Margery, and it's appreciated. I'm a monthly subscriber already.
Oh, thank you.
But I sent in a little more today to help reach the $25,000 match. Thanks for all you do. That point we should have made is, obviously, you're not precluded, even if you're already giving. If you have more, and you can, and you want to, make an additional contribution at 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. Obviously, she's a donor already.
Yeah, she said she's a donor already. She's going to give $500.
Yeah.
She must be doing pretty well.
I think she's doing quite well.
Anyway, if you want to join Juliette, you are more than welcome. But we appreciate whatever we can get. We appreciate you listening to our show. We appreciate you listening to GBH. We got a great new show right after ours, the Culture Show that Jared Bowen is the host of, and it's a terrific show.
Terrific show.
The number again, 888-897-9424. The website where you can give very securely, I should add, doesn't take any time at all, is gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Margery Eagan live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're talking about the pros and cons of self-checkout.
Yes, we are. Let's go to Lindsay in Lincoln. Thank you for calling, Lindsay.
Lindsay in Lincoln.
Hi, guys. I love your show. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm a monthly contributor,
Oh,
too.
thank you. That means a lot to us. Thank you very much.
Great. I just wanted to give people the heads up. If they think they're stealing from a self-checkout counter and getting away with it, they're not. That stores aggregate how much people steal, and they have you on cameras on every angle. So don't do it. You're not going to get away with it.
Well, that's another good reason not to do it.
That's a good point. You see yourself right there in the camera in the CVS checkout.
Generally, what I do, Lindsay, when I'm doing self-checkout, I walk over and I block the camera before I do the checkout. So that sort of solves. But that's a wonderful point, by the way. There always are cameras, which gets back to how did Oda Maris get out with a pillow?
Pillow is rather large.
From the Lindsay, thank you for your advice, and we appreciate your donations and your kind soul. 877-301-8970 is the number.
You know, self-checkout do have some good purposes.
Like what?
Well, this person says if I'm at a grocery store with 3 to 5 items, it's much more convenient to use the self-checkout as opposed to waiting in a checkout line with 6 people, and that's
Go to the
true.
express line where there's 10 items or less. That's BS.
Not everybody has a 10 items or less
most
thing.
of them do.
And this woman says her husband likes them at Target because there are never enough cashiers, but they get rid of them at the Target at the South Bay. So I don't know. Then they limited the number of items you can have at self-checkout.
Now, that's a topic for another day. But maybe Hiawatha Bray and Carabaskin could debate that too. If you have 14 items, Margery, I want an honest answer to this. And you know you have 14 items.
I'm not going to go
and you're in the
self-checkout.
No. And you're in the 12-item express lane maximum. What do you do? Tell the truth.
Well, there have been a few bad situations. Don't you remember there was like a fist fight up in Lawrence a couple of years ago when somebody tried to put one extra item in the self-checkout?
Yeah.
It did not end well. You were called out for cheating, and then there was fisticuffs involved.
Well, that doesn't answer my question. Do you do it or do you not do it?
No, I don't do it.
Because you're afraid of being assaulted.
Well, you want to be a good citizen and not be cheating and leave 10 item or less or 12 item or less.
But when the cashier says something, you say, "Oh, I miscounted." You've never done that?
The cashiers almost never do it. They almost never say it.
That's
what really annoys me. They let people go through the 12 item or less.
Wow, now you're angry.
With 14 or 16.
I can tell. This really got you going,
Well, the cashier
didn't
doesn't want to get beaten up either. You know what
That's
I mean?
a very good point. How often does that happen?
Well, I think people have hair trigger triggers now.
What's that again?
Hair, temper, triggers.
No,
hair
almost.
trigger tempers.
There we go.
Thank you. Hair trigger tempers. Okay. If Jim were in Scandinavia, they'd be the most depressed in the world, listening to him whine about how dark it is half the year, Jim.
By the way, excuse me, not only is it, half the year, that's correct. Have you heard one person who is against daylight saving time complain that it's light till 7 o'clock every night? No. We have time for one more.
You know who's listening to us right now?
Who?
Kara Baskin from the Globe.
She was the...
And we've been quoting her, talking about how she doesn't like self-checkouts at all, and saying that, you can't stand in the supermarket line and read the tabloids anymore if you're not in the supermarket.
But wait a second. Kara also says...
She wants us to play the sound.
Yeah, but she says she's chortling at it. Who chortles? Who says chortle?
Help is on the way.
Exactly. She says she's chortling at that particular...
Please wait. Help is on the way.
We heard it. We've played it like 500 times. Okay.
Yeah, I'm being accused by Nicole of using the express lane like I drive in the bus lane.
That's a very good point, by the way.
I only drive in the bus lane when there's no buses in the bus lane.
Bus lane.
Okay, we have time for one more.
No, we don't. How do you know that it's not going to come?
I can see the rearview mirror,
Well, what
Jim.
if it's a turn, Margery?
Buses are very slow. They're not going to catch up to you for a long time. And the car.
You have 30 seconds, Ann.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
we don't
okay.
have much
30
time,
seconds.
Ann. Sorry.
Okay, I'll try and be quick. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
The one big plus of self-checkout is the drugstore, because we all have to go and buy these embarrassing items once in a while. And I used to hate having to buy like my feminine hygiene products with a male checkout guy.
By the way, I have the same experience. When I buy a pound of lard, I feel the same kind of embarrassment.
And that is a very good point. There are those certain items you'd rather just have in the self-checkout so nobody sees them. Okay, we're out of time. Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Thank you to people that came down to the Boston Public Library.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
And keep up with this 24/7 way over our podcast at 3-hour one and a half-hour one. That's the highlights. Tomorrow we're going to be joined by NBC's Chuck Todd, former Massachusetts Secretary of Education Paul Reville, Andrew Cabral, who used to be the sheriff of Suffolk County, and TV critic Matt Gilbert is going to tell us what we should be watching in this spring season. We want to thank our much-ignored crew, apparently. We never say nice things. They're great. They're great. Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our executive producer, Jane Bologna, and our engineer, John the Claw Parker, plus the great team at the library, and they were very nice to talk to the kids from Northeastern. Sandra Lopez-Burke, Maddie Geyer, Steve Baracci, Carly Carkran, and Isabella Karen. And
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Special thanks to News Feed Cafe, and of course, the Lenox Hotel across the street where we park our cars.
Mary Mazio was here the other day, brilliant filmmaker, 50 Eggs is the name of her company. We just seen her film Bad River about this David-Goliath battle between Native Americans and a big fossil fuel company. The film was only supposed to be at AMC Boston Common for a week. It's so popular, it's been extended a week. Go check it out, AMC Boston Common, Bad River. I'm Jim Braude.
I am Margery Eagan. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great afternoon, and hope you can tune in tomorrow. Bye.
It's our spring membership drive, and we're here to raise the money to keep BPR on the air. I'm Zach Finn, and I'm here with Jack Callahan.
And today, only a generous group of GBH members will donate $25,000. Yes, you heard me, $25,000 to GBH if we receive 500 contributions by 7 o'clock this evening. Now, your gift, joined with others, is how we will meet that goal. It's how we'll keep Jim and Margery on the air. Now, you can help get the membership off to a great start by giving now and helping us meet this challenge. And by the way, I just got an update. We are very close to where we wanted to be right at this time to make sure that we hit by 7 o'clock. So your contribution right now, the last chance that you can support Jim and Margery and help us meet this challenge is right now. What do you say? 888-897-9424 is the number to call, or online, online at gbh.org.
And right now we're looking for 18 more listener contributions in the next about 7-8 minutes, and staying on track will help earn the challenge by this evening. That means we can continue to keep GBH on the radio and available to all in Boston. That's 18 contributions in the next 7 minutes, gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Oh, it'll be so important to hit that goal. Thank you for doing your part right now. Think for a moment, though, as you head to the phone or your keyboard about what Boston Public Radio means to you every day. First of all, it's 3 hours every weekday, and Jim and Margery have so many varied guests, so many topics, whether it's John King, one of the regulars, our own Jared Bowen, who a little bit earlier in this program, and topics. I mean, whether it goes from talking with the governor or with the mayor of Boston or what you feel about self-checkout. It's the panoply. It's the gamut. It's all here because listeners like you take a moment at times just like this to support their listening. How about you? Hop on board right now. You'll be so glad you did. 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
And right now you can pick up the new GBH picnic blanket when you make a contribution of $10 a month. This is a limited offer just for today. The blanket will be perfect for the beach. You can do the outdoor concerts, events this summer. It's gray with soft fleece on one side and waterproof backing on the other. It features that really crisp 89.7 GBH logo in white, and of course the handy detachable carrying strap makes the thing so easy to tote. Support GBH by signing up as a sustaining member at just $10 a month and ask for that blanket. It is only available today. You can give at gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424. You can also give $120 all at once.
We are making progress here on the goal for this hour as we close it out with just about 5 minutes left to go. 14 contributions in the next 5 minutes. We can do that with your help. 2 reasons why I'm really stressing this goal right now. First of all, right the first day, it'll help us stay on track to earn that $25,000 challenge grant from a group of GBH members. But secondly, your contribution, regardless of that, will help ensure that we keep Boston Public Radio on the air 3 hours a day every weekday. Please call now, 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
You listen to GBH throughout the year, so why not spread your membership out the same way by signing up as a sustaining member now? You make a reoccurring monthly contribution from your bank account or credit card, so your contribution keeps giving all year long. It only takes 2 minutes to set up. Call right now, 888-897-9424. Go online, gbhnews.org.
And Jolita from Arlington made her contribution, made a difference, and she said, Jim and Margery keep me sane every day. And Anne from Cranston, Rhode Island, says she really enjoys the show. It's really thought-provoking, and sometimes it can get you a little riled up, but that's all part of the nature of public radio and what Jim and Margery do so well to get the points across, to get us thinking in maybe a little bit different way. Also, this one came in from Christopher in Cohoes, New York. He says, love the station, especially Jim and Margery, but he put his own little challenge on here. He says, since I'm donating now, they have to commit to working for at least another year. Well, Christopher, let's hope so. Thank you for your gift. Please join them right now, 888-897-9424 or online at gbhnews.org.
And we're looking for 11 more people in the next 4 minutes so we can stay on track to earn the $25,000 challenge grant. You can be a part of that. Your gift is so important right now. That's 11 contributions in the next 4 minutes, 888-897-9424 or go online, gbhnews.org.
And a quick reminder about this blanket. It's the first time we've offered a GBH blanket. It's a picnic blanket. Means it's just the right size that you can spread on the ground or even on the beach if you want to. It has a waterproof backside and a nice finish on the inside. The other side with the GBH logo on it, $10 a month or a one-time contribution of $120. And that blanket starts to rain when you're sitting somewhere. Wrap it around you. The waterproof outside will keep you dry and it'll feel really nice on the inside, courtesy of your contribution. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Every single contribution makes a difference to GBH and our ability to inform you of what's happening in Boston and across the globe. That's the message today. Participation, giving what you can, really does help. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And we're coming down to the end here. We're looking for your help right now. Don't forget that blanket. It's the last chance to support BPR and get the blanket at $10 a month or a one-time gift of $120. 7 contributions to go. That is fabulous news. Can we count on you to be one of those? 888-897-9